6,200 names. Haudenosaunee names. Ayuyu. Ayuyu. Who the fuck's trying to come up? Someone's trying to come up? Oh. Oh, nobody? Never mind. Seneca's from the West. Okay, so we're gonna read the Six Nations, Haudenosaunee, and Haldimand Tract, Beliefs versus Facts, listing details of all 47 chiefs who signed the 18th December 1844 surrender of the DCE Plank Road lands, including DCE. So let's see. Okay. Common misconceptions. Unless someone who has carefully studied the history of the settlement of Grand River, Haldimand Tract from 1785, it would be easy to make false assumptions based on early published work, which pertain to the League Confederacy as it was constituted in circa 1850. Before the works of Morgan, Parker, Hewitt, and others, there was simply no reliable source to provide information such as names of the hereditary chiefs or the Confederacy. To project backwards from 1850 will take one into uncharted waters, and to project forward it is not consistent with the written historical record. It was never the case at Six Nations that there were 50 hereditary chiefs of the 5 nations, not 6 nations, as seen in the roll call of chiefs found in William N. Fenton, The Great Law, and the Longhouse, A Political History of the Iroquois Confederacy. It is always the case that at Six Nations, chiefs included both assistant chiefs to hereditary chief and pine tree chiefs, such as Joseph Brant and or war chiefs. All were chiefs on occasions. Principal men were also accepted as chiefs within the Longhouse at Six Nations. As I have noted in previous postings, there were also occasions when deeds were signed by all principal women. It is very confusing, what somewhat inconsistent picture, but what it was, and no one at the time questioned the inclusion of any of these individuals. So, you know what I think? I think that the Confederacy should have many chiefs. Each chief title should be filled, and there should be a war chief for each clan, a principal chief, and like the sachem, right? A civil chief. You hear things like this, yo. They'll have old things like from the 1800s of our ancestors trying to explain it to these white people, and they're writing it down like William Fenton, he was trying to understand it. And there's a couple other ones too. Even Arthur C. Parker, he was actually a sachem. He was actually a general that helped free the blacks, actually. Fought for the North. He was General Grant's right-hand man. If you don't know who that is, he's the guy in the $50 bill. So what the he was a chief, right? Ely Parker, and what he did was he took 100 Seneca men. Maybe it was 100 or 1,000, one or the other. But either or, he took 100 or 1,000 Seneca men, Seneca warriors, and went and won a battle. So when they say, "Oh, you guys own slaves," say, "Nah, Seneca helped free your people." Tell them to look up Ely Parker. He was a chief and a general. He's probably the guy that should have been on the $50 bill instead of Grant. Okay, so listen to this. It is also the case that Grand River chiefs also included representatives from Tuscarora, Nanacoke, Tutelo, Delaware, Cherokee, and other groups. Today, of these groups, only the Tuscarora and Delaware are in sufficient numbers to be included separately on the official Six Nations ban list. Yeah, I had no idea. The others, I knew Tuscarora was, but I didn't know about Delaware. The other amalgamated with these, for example, although the Latham family were Nanacoke, they resided. You got people with that last name, Nanacoke. They reside Senecas with that last name. They resided with the Delaware 70. A census of 1785 see Charles M. Johnston in the Valley of the Six Nations, a collection of documents on the Indian lands of the Grand River, Toronto, and Champlain Society. So not only are the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, our empire is not only in New York, and recognize it. Also that mound. So you guys hit up your Ho-Chunk relatives about that mound on that video. So I'll have that posted and I'll tag it in this video too. Yep, so this is everybody that they included. Mohawks, Onondaga Council Fire, Onondaga Barefoot's Party, Senecas, Onondagas from the West, Upper Cayugas, Upper Tutelese, Oneidas. Look how they spelled Oneida. Oquagas, Delaware Aaron's Party, Oquagas Joseph Party, Tuscaroras, Lower Cayugas, St. Regis Onondagas. You got Montours. You got people with that name on the rest today. Cattaraugus. Creeks and Cherokees. Lower Tutelese. Delawares, Senecas from the West, and Nanacokes. Some might question why there's so few Senecas among the chiefs of Grand River, considering their majority when all were residing in what is today upstate New York. The simple answer is that the majority choose to stay in New York where they live today. An excellent resource for the titles existing at Six Nations, in which addresses the question to who was considered as a chief in the book, Edward Chadwick, The People of the Longhouse, Toronto, and England Publishing, 1897, which could be found online here. The first complete list of Six Nations chiefs of the Grand River was recorded in 1815. By the George Martin Mohawk for the William Claus of the Indian Department. Seen here where there had been 22 Mohawk chiefs, principal in war. To make things more confusing, there were sometimes 4 principal chiefs, Bear Tribe, instead of the traditional 3 as seen here. Okay. And you know what? I've even read places where each chief had 2 helpers. And they put quotes around helpers. I forget where I read it. Maybe in one of Ely Parker's books. But each chief, principal chief or sachem, had 2 helpers. And it kind of makes sense because today they say we don't have faith keepers. The Confederacy never had faith keepers. The faith keepers are like people that keep the faith, like preachers, like Christianity, and that's not our stuff. But I read that you had under each clan mother and each chief had their own little helper and that would be the faith keeper. So, and these are questions that, unless you're really sitting down and having a real good conversation with someone, that you can ask. It's like they're like, "Oh, you're supposed to be asking questions." The types of questions I have isn't the type of question you just ask someone on the fly. You know, those are the types of questions I have. They're not the types of questions just to be asking randomly at times. Let's keep going. To expect standardization such as 50 chiefs simply does not accord with the data relating to the Six Nations of the Grand River to at any point in their history. I've seen hundreds of deeds and surrenders signed at either the Indian Council House of Fort George, the Mohawk village from about 1805 onwards, the Onondaga Council House. It is clear that the concept of quorum applied to some degree. There had to be an Onondaga present at the Onondaga Council House to open the ceremonies. However, whoever showed up that day and who was eligible signed whatever document was on the table. And if there was perceived to be a need to have someone present who was not then present, the matter would be considered soon thereafter in the item signed by again the chiefs and council on that day. The range of chiefs in terms from numbers who were authorized and signed the document ranged from 1. Joseph Brant after he was given power of attorney in 1796 to 67 chiefs in the 1840s. Dang, yo. Yeah, this is what I mean. This is why they don't like Joseph Brant. He was also a Freemason and he was half white. Land inspection returns. The lots of Plank Road were no longer, and you know what I just told you, people probably, that's people's family. This is what I mean, this stuff is kind of can get messy sometimes. There's people his descendants live on today. People don't like corn planter either, so well, anyway, lots along the Plank Road were no longer needed for the reserve and so were given up for sale by the crown and recorded in surrenders. Descriptions of the lands and the chiefs wanted to reserve and those they wished to dispense with. Individual Indians were permitted to retain any possessions they had, and at that time, if these Six Nations members wished to sell their property and move to the new reserve, they were welcome to do so, emphatically and repeatedly stated by the chiefs and council as their wish and accepted by the Indian Department and government officials. Yeah, so the chiefs were coaching the people to do that, telling the people to do that, empathetically and repeatedly stated by the chiefs in their council as their wish. Yeah, that's crazy. The process of this migration to the west be within the boundaries of what is today Six Nations Reserve, and it is shown specific detail by the land inspection returns of Oneida Township, lot by lot. So the reason why I'm diving into this is because Haudenosaunee homelands is in New York traditionally. Six Nations Grand River is a reservation. Yeah, we had that territory and it was conquered and we lost it and it was conquered again. We got it again. We lost it. Now they're back on it, right? So we have always been in the Northeast fighting over territories. That's what a lot of the tribes were doing, fighting over territories. Family beefs that went back probably 1,000 years, just retaliating, going back and forth, and it goes back to fighting with the giants. It's not really giants, it's just big natives versus small natives. That's really what it is. It wasn't just like, and that giant DNA, there's a scientific explanation behind it. It's actually Denisovan DNA. That's what it is. Yeah, so the reason why I'm doing a deep dive into this, are the Masons good guys or bad guys? They say not to like them, but I don't see. They're both. It's interesting. I gravitate towards stuff like that, but I'm not a Mason. It's just the only reason why I gravitate towards learning about it is because We got that shit. My tribe was like one of the first people to join that shit. One of the first Native Americans to join that shit, yo. First 33rd degree Mason and all that shit, yo. We got Shriners too. Yeah, yo. So I started looking, asking questions. But yeah, yo. So it almost seems that like, yeah, all the Six Nations that were in New York, Seneca isn't that big in Canada because we're the ones that stayed. Out of all the six, we were the most fiercest. There was the most of us too. And then the only reason why there's so many Mohawks is because they go through the father in Canada. You can be considered Mohawk. Yo, that's the thing here, yo. That's crazy, yo. Here in the States, we're real tradish because if your mom's not, you're not. In Canada, if your dad is, it don't matter. You still are. So they got colonized, yo. That's crazy, yo. Yeah, that's some tea right there, yo. Yo, that's some tea right there. That is some tea right there. I never seen a giant Indian. I don't think you've ever seen any Indians, bro. I don't think any of y'all have ever seen any Indians ever. This is as close as it gets for you. This is as close as it gets for you. This is it. Like you guys live in areas where there's no Indians, yo. Yeah, I braided my hair. You can tell I did my braids because they're all fucked up. You can tell I did that shit. Will Sampson? How do you know Will Sampson? That's who that I never met him, but that's who taught the people that taught me how to hoop dance. I learned from his kids, yo. I learned how to hoop dance from his kids, actually. Will Sampson's kids, Doris, Destiny, Nico and Sam. Actual Indians, people are confused. Yeah, this is so 100 years ago you had the Great Depression, right? Oh, we got a little distracted. I was recording a video and now it's whatever. So 100 years ago you got the Great Depression in 1920s. And this year in the 2020s you got the Great Delusion. You get it? You got the Great Depression, then you got the Great Delusion. Right now, with technology and how many hours everybody stays in their phone, they're brainwashing themselves into stuff that they want to be and learn and indoctrinating themselves. Like, you watch pretendian content of that your people are not African and fucking mound builders and Moors and fucking the ancient Europeans and the Native Americans and everything besides West African, you're actually going to believe it. That's what's going on. A great delusion. A huge delusion. Mass delusion, actually. Mass hysteria. Yeah, yo. Mass delusion. That's exactly what is going on. The Great Deception. Yes. That is exactly what it is. 6 hours a day. I mean, I'm on all day, longer than that, but I'm not scrolling. I mean, I am on here, but I'm also reading out loud, making content. Because I'm trying to make something for myself and make something out of myself and learn too at the same time. So I got the energy for it. Okay, here we go. Now, what I'm looking for, these are names. Okay, 47, the list of 47 chiefs who signed the surrender. Dang, I better not see a Thomas on here or a Jimerson. Buck, Brant, Martin, Bull, Burning, David, Douglas, Johnson. Okay. Miracle, what? Oh, I got scared for a second. I thought I was gonna see Thomas. Woo! Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You don't see my family's names on that. Not one. Not one that I recognize. None of my family's on here. The surrender. Yeah, yup. I don't got none of these are my relatives though. Cause I'm related to Thomas, Warriors, Jimersons, Jemisons, Hunyos, Sky, White, Halftown. What else? Yeah, and I don't see none of my relatives on here. And this is a surrender. But this is also Grand River, so that makes sense. But still. Yeah, look, they got they're signing in their Haudenosaunee names, I think. But that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm looking for, yo. I'm looking for the titles with the meanings so I can match up all the symbols with them. Because these are the 50 titles. I want to match up all the name. Like, I already got all the names. I just want the meanings of the names. I don't know I got the names written out. I don't know the translations of them, though. And I got them all separated from Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca. And I got all the hieroglyphics here, but I wish I had the name so I can match up which hieroglyphic. I don't know which symbol goes with which. Because I don't speak Mohawk or Oneida. Or I suck at Mohawk and Oneida. I don't know Cayuga or Tuscarora either. I only know Seneca, so yeah, that was my uncle right there. He passed about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, maybe four. Darren. Darren Jimerson. He was the chief. His name's still on here though. And it looks like their Seneca titles, they got that one open. that one open, that one open, that one open. I wonder why they leave those empty like that, yo. They don't have them all filled because look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 empty titles for Seneca. That's chief and clan mother. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28 titles not filled, yo, in our Confederacy. And there's supposed to be 50 of them. Well, that's not all chiefs. That's clan mother titles too. And they're not even all the way filled. And listen, Seneca, Nation of Indians left that. Since they left that, our tribe, it's not that they're doing better. It's we don't have to follow the rules of the Great Law now. And it shouldn't be like that. You know, Onondaga, they follow the rules of the Great Law, so it seems like they don't believe in having a dispensary for some reason. But that still happens out there, you know? And it's just a lot of things, yo. And these are our people, and I care. I care a lot, you know? And I'm learning a lot, too. And it just seems that, like, we're not where we're supposed to be, yo. Like, it's all. Why is there empty spots? And then if you go to ceremony, you're part of a small percentage of people that go. Like this weekend at the healing conference. So this weekend at the healing conference, one of the speakers, they were talking about how like they're so blessed that they were part of a longhouse family and they got all these ceremonies, you know, like private ceremonies, and not that she was like rubbing it in, but you know, not everybody gets that experience, you know. And they're talking about how they got a ceremony that they thought that they didn't need, you know. And it kind of just rubbed me wrong because there's other people out there that probably really could use that ceremony. And then you got certain people that gatekeep stuff and it's like, oh no, you gotta belong. Oh, you gotta come more. You know, it's like, well, how much more do I have to come before you guys start teaching me things, you know? And I do ask, you know, I do ask stuff, and I'm not talking about me. It's just like everybody else, you know, are it's almost like a small percentage of people from the territory go to ceremony, right? And then the rest of the community doesn't know anything. They don't know anything about ceremony. And it's probably because they had probably have gone and felt uncomfortable because they didn't know, or they got looks by someone, or they saw someone there they didn't like. There's plenty of reasons to keep someone from not wanting to go to ceremony. And you know what? I have felt all kinds of ways, you know, before. JRB, didn't you like send me a request on like Facebook or something, like saying that I'm racist or something?
Yep.
Yo, did you say that I was racist on Facebook or something? You like messaged me or something?
Yeah, we had to talk. We had to talk. Yeah, we had to talk between each other.
Yeah, I didn't really talk to you. I think you were just sending me stuff.
Yeah, our messages. I just wanted to confirm something because You talking about indigenous and stuff like that. I just wanted to know about my people and what you thought about that. But you came kind of a little
I don't
wrong.
know
But
who your
I'm
people
not
are,
worried about it.
bro. I don't know who you are or who your people are. Sorry. Who are your people?
Yeah, I came to you to ask you that information, man. You came a little nasty.
You came to ask me who your people are?
What you think about them? Because you've been having this talk about indigenous people.
I don't know who your people are, bro. I'm asking you, who are your people?
Taino Indians.
Word, that's cool, bro. That's what's up, bro. They're cool people. I got many Taino friends.
Yeah. And what you know about them?
Not too much, bro. They were the first ones to get colonized.
Okay, that was my whole point, man. Yeah. When Christopher Columbus had landed, in the Bahamas and stuff like that. Yes. So, do you think there's any trace of the actual Tainos here now?
Yeah, they're here.
Like 4%?
Sure. Yeah, I've seen pictures of them.
My family carries. Yeah, my family carries about, like, I don't know, my indigenous is 16 point. It's very low. But my haplogroup is about 82.
That's cool, bro. That's what's up. So when did you know?
Before we
when
end
did
this
you find
little
out you were
question that I
Taino?
had.
So when did you find out you were Taino?
Well, a while ago and shit, like when I was younger, people used to say, oh, you're European, you're Spaniard and all that. So until I started doing my own research on the Taino Indians and, now in 1492, I learned more about them and I learned that, Puerto Ricans carry the DNA.
Okay. So you're probably like the first one in your family to like try to reconnect to your indigenous roots then, right? Or no? Or is your family like
I guess so, man, because they
practice
like
the culture? Or no?
My grandmother, like basically I feel like she was indoctrinated with the Christianity stuff, but there's certain things that she do that shows she's still connected to those roots.
Yeah, that's cool, bro. That's cool. Yo, bro,
Yeah.
I don't appreciate
One last thing I wanted to ask you, bro.
you messaging me on my Facebook though, and then on my personal Facebook too, and then trying to call me a racist and all that. I don't appreciate that, bro.
The way that I try to talk to you, man, you came up calling me a mulatto. I'm like, what the fuck?
I don't know what the fuck you are, bro, but you came at me in a certain way, and the way you were acting, you were acting like a mulatto, trying to defend whoever you're defending, bro. Or you calling me racist?
I get it, man. But look, I'm not a person to go back and forth with people and shit. I'm not worried about that stuff. If you is, it's all good. I'm all here for information. But before this, I just want to ask you one more thing, and then we can end the chat.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so you was going over the symbols of the native people. I was interested.
Can't hear you, bro. There you go.
I was asking, do you think some of the native symbols are connected to Egyptian hieroglyphs?
Yeah. You can find our symbol. You can find almost every language in our symbols, actually, bro. They found Sumerian. They found Sumerian tablets.
The ox in the bowl?
The ox in the bowl? What about it? Like, what about the ox in the bowl?
Yeah, it's the A sign, well, for like English language. Yeah, but it's Egyptian hieroglyphs. It's like it represents A.
It represents what? What is
A, the letter A.
Oh, an ox in a bowl?
Yes, because that goes into like the Hebrew shit, how they broke it down. They had changed the whole language around. And they turned it to Latin, Greek, everything else.
Okay. Yo, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was good that you was able to actually talk to me after all that. I watch your videos, so just keep it like that.
All right, bro. Nice to meet you.
For sure.
All right, peace. I'm gonna look at my messages real quick. The Goji, no. Let's see. Oh, yo, I blocked you earlier, bro. I forgot. Yeah, I blocked you earlier. Yeah, I was looking at my messages. Hold on, let me see. Go to my message requests. Oh no, I didn't block you. You're right here. That's you. R Blaze. What's going on, bro? Why are you racist? That's what you said. It's all good. Yeah, we talk, bro. It's all good. Oh yeah, we watched this one. Where the fuck is this?
Don't upload your videos to YouTube. Upload to Restream, where we will live stream it to YouTube.
Hey guys, it's Tim. It's December 11th. Man, it is cold today. It's not fit for anybody to be out. I went and dug around in a new cave for a little bit. I thought I might find a place that whenever it got frozen out, I couldn't dig anywhere else. I'd have something maybe to dig this winter, but it didn't pan out. I dug and dug and dug, didn't find anything. But anyways, what you're looking at right there is a burial mound. My father-in-law used to own this place. I'm going to get permission to come out and try to dig some of the camps. There's camps all over this place out here. But this has always kind of been neat, kind of fascinating to me, this big old burial mound out here. Somebody, I don't know if it was the University of Missouri or what, but a long time ago dug around up in the top of it. But I can tell you they didn't dig very deep. I don't know. Anyways, it's against the law to dig in them, so.
Where the fuck is this?
Today, I'm going to take you to a very strange, ancient native burial site that just cannot be explained. And the characteristics of this burial place are unlike anything that I've ever seen before in my life. It's in a very remote place. Sits way up above the Ohio River here in the northern Ohio Valley. We're going to try and make it to it today. And maybe some of y'all watching will have some idea of maybe what this place represented or what it even was. The hills that I'm hiking now average about 1,100, maybe 1,200 feet above sea level. And the river down here sits at around 600 feet above sea level. So it's 500 or 600 feet of climbing, but that's within a couple of hundred meters. So it's very, very steep. Looks like they were logging up here, and that's as far as they could get. That's very steep. We're going way up here. Wow, these West Virginia views never disappoint. You should see this in the wintertime when the leaves are off. Just to put this into context of how old this burial place is, it's around 2,500 years old, they believe. And we are, right now, only about a half a mile or so from the stone walkway or runway that we filmed, and one of the largest, if not the largest, ancient fortified cities that was built in what is now the United States. But it was all destroyed by agriculture and farming down on the flats. But the ruins that these people left in the hills surrounding that wasn't able to be farmed, they still remain here. We're getting up to the top, and it's starting to come into view. Just a little farther, I see it right up here. This is an ancient burial mound from the mound builders. They say they think it's Adena, but it may also be a Hopewell mound. But it's unlike any other mound you've seen. This mound has characteristics about it that I haven't seen before. The top of the mound has a large stone platform, and surrounding the mound were placed these very, very large sandstones. They estimate to be 1,000 pounds or more each, strategically placed around this burial mound. And what did they represent? And this mound was built on the highest little peak right on the tip top of this mountain here. You can see it coming into view now.
What if there was a song about young man, big dream, and the style of...
And this would have been the original top of the hill right here. And you can see that mound that's been built right on the tip of this mountain, stands slightly to the south on a slight ridge. And the people that explored this mound and described it of having that stone platform and those stones strategically placed around it was about 100 years ago. So let's go up here and just see how much of their writings are left. We'll go up the back, most pronounced side of the mound. I already can see stones on the top, what may have been the platform, but I do not see any of the larger stones that were placed around the sides. This looks to be what's left of the stone platform that was put up on top of this mound. And how do you get this up here? I have no idea. You can see the size of this. Very huge stone here. And this tree has grown up through the middle and split it apart. What is left of this large stone platform on top has just been split apart by these trees growing up through it here and there. But I want you to look down here. We have found some of the stones that were placed, the large oval stone shapes that were placed around the mound. Look at this. Here's the first one. In the writings, they said they estimated these stones to be...
There's bricks, regular bricks right there too. That is crazy on top of a mountain, though.
I think between 1,000 and 1,200 pounds, and I believe it with the size of this one here.
Oh, those are just leaves. They're not red.
How many people would it have taken to move these rocks up this hill and place them on this mound? Here's another one right here. It's got a chip off of it. It's broken in half, but most of it is there. And there's another one right over here. Now on the front side, they seem to have been covered up with dirt from erosion. And what happens is, along the river, when the new highways were put in, probably in the 50s and 60s, they took a lot of that mountainside out, which caused a lot of erosion on that side. As you look at this platform, you have to ask yourself, could this even be moved up here? There is no way that people moved this rock up on top of this point. It would have been 15-foot diameter, and I don't know how far it goes down into the ground right there, but that's 15 or 20 inches thick at this point. It's also thought that this place may have been a sacrificial place, but you can tell there has been fires up here, because just looking at stones around here.
I thought you said you were Seneca. Yo, did you watch that? Yo, somebody go share that one on Facebook. Yo, go share that one. I thought you were Seneca to the Mississippi Choctaw group. You guys know what I'm talking about on Facebook? You guys know what I'm talking about? The Mississippi Choctaw on Facebook. Somebody should share the video that I made on Facebook. It's called I Thought You Said You Were Seneca. And it's got her face going like, share that. Share the link to the page and it'll show what that picture. I can't post anything.
Some of them have been fired, and they have been reddened from these fires. My honest, educated guess, by studying this stuff, coming up here and actually looking at it, is that there was an outcropping of stone around this size, 20-foot diameter, 15-foot diameter, that popped out up on the top of this hill. It may have been 15 or 20 feet high. And I think they buried people around that outcropping until it was filled up clear to the top, leaving that stone platform on top. And just how many people are buried around that stone platform up on this mountain? Well, we can only imagine. But you know, with them large stones around there, they had to be some people with some status. You come back now.
It's a good one.
Ever wonder why the system...
So how's everybody doing?
Officials at a school in Upper Manhattan are looking to honor the memory of slaves after it was discovered the school sits on a long-forgotten cemetery for enslaved African Americans. Today, they held a commemoration ceremony to mark the ground as sacred. Eyewitness News reporter Mike Mark.
Come on. Oh, this looks interesting. The Lewiston Indian Burial
In
Mound.
Lewiston, New York, in a place called Art Park, and we're here to see an Indian burial.
This is Lewiston is Tuscarora. That's Tuscarora territory. I mean, Seneca is giving it to the Tuscarora, but
Burial mound today.
that's us.
Now, if you look for where it is, it's situated between two parking lots. There's one, that's a concert venue. Alison Krauss will be coming here in a couple weeks. There's the other parking lot. They used to have a sign right there that said burial mound. And I found some pictures of these signs online because I was here yesterday. And I thought, what the heck? Was it my imagination?
Yeah, see, Indian
Because
burial
I haven't
mound.
been here in a long time. So they had like that photograph or that sign back there. They had one talking about the burial mound, and they had one that was brown and yellow. And I remember they had this trail, like an asphalt trail. It went right around the mound.
Yeah, so they're hiding this mound in Lewiston, Tuscarora, Seneca territory.
Do you see it through the woods there?
Oh, okay.
Well, it's very hard to see
Yeah, I see it.
because it's overgrown.
You can see it? You guys see it? I see it. That's a mound in there, yo. And then he said when he came there as a kid, they had signs there that said Indian burial mound. Hold on. One right there, Lewiston Mound. One right there, the Lewiston Mound. On, and then one right. Where the frick is it? Whatever.
I don't know what their deal is. I don't think they want people to know about this anymore.
No,
Let's take a closer look.
they definitely don't want people to know.
The burial mound sign missing.
Yeah.
But then you just walk in here.
You know what it is? I bet you the sign is just missing. I bet you the sign is just missing and someone may have just took the sign and maybe he's looking too deep into it.
You can well, I shouldn't say that. But I think they have those tick signs up to keep people away. So you just walk in here through the trail. There's a little fence. You get to the curve. They have this little installation. If you walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 paces in a zigzag formation, you wind up right here. There's no signage whatsoever. And it's hard to see it, I know. But can you see? Can you see it?
So what we're looking at is a Indian burial mound in Lewiston, New York, Tuscarora, Seneca territory, and this guy was talking about that the sign was taken when he was a kid, and the sign's not up there anymore, and he thinks they're trying to hide this mound here in Lewiston.
The outline. There's one point I was in here yesterday. It wasn't a bad vantage point. But it's right there in front of you. Now they say this was built by, they call them the Hopewell Indians. See, can you see it? And There's a lot of burial mounds throughout the Ohio Valley. As a matter of fact, we're only a little bit downstream from Niagara Falls. But I'm walking around the whole perimeter of this mound. Now, an interesting note. When Abraham Lincoln was looking at the falls, he wrote, "The eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mounds of America have gazed on Niagara as ours do now." And you can find that and read it for yourself on the papers of AbrahamLincoln.org. So this is one of those mounds. Now, when they have dug up these mounds in the past, they find these giant bones that are 8, 9, 10, 12 feet tall. And there's another place near here, Tonawanda, New York. See, that's a decent view. Where I'll explain that a little later. So right here, somebody left a pile. You know how people do that with the rocks. And in one of the photographs I'm going to show you, it looks like the trail came right through here. But here's where the trail is. And there's a picture online where I used to be able to walk right down here.
But yeah, that's the Lewiston Mound, and the title of this video is "Why Are They Hiding the Lewiston Indian Burial Mound?" Is because they took the sign down, or the sign is missing, and the trail's all marked off, and there's tick signs. He thinks they're trying to keep people away. But yeah, it would make sense because we now live in a day and age where we got crazies out there, fanatics going to our ancestors' burial grounds, and who knows what they're doing. They're weird hoodoo, voodoo, magic, or just random ass stuff, disrespectful stuff, claiming these are their ancestors' mounds, like, nah, sorry. Let's see what else he's got. Nephilim. Pretty big
You'll
mound.
find that they kind of were like snake worshipers.
Serpent.
And I believe this is what we're looking at here. I can't remember who I first heard about the Nephilim from. It might have been a video I've seen by Chuck Missler. But the other guy is Steve Quayle. And I've learned a lot from those guys. And that branches off into other people. Tom Horn, Timothy Alberino. And there's a lot more. L.A. Marzulli. There's a lot more. So what I think we're looking at here is this is not a Native American burial mound. It's an ancient Indian burial ground. I don't even think there's an Indian in there. What I think is in there is a Nephilim. Now the Nephilim, they were the offspring. When Lucifer rebelled against God, he was cast out of heaven, which you can read about in your Bible. books like Isaiah. And then in Genesis 6, they go on to say
I'm
that
good. I got something better than the Bible.
these were men of renown. Well, it goes on to say that they were cast down from heaven, and some of the fallen angels had sexual relations with the women. And they bore these children, these great men of renown, and that they were giants. Now, I believe that all those stories about the Greek and Roman gods have a basis in truth. But it's not, it's the biblical truth that these fallen angels came down and mated with.
You know who the giants are? Your giants are your biblical giant. Your giants in the Americas are your biblical giants. They're just not your gingers. Your pale-skinned, red-headed giants are just light-skinned natives. The red hair that somehow came with when they found these giants, yo, and their hair oxidized from the oxygen and it turned red because Native Americans have pheomelanin. There's red melanin there's red and orange melanin and then purple and brown melanin. We're red and orange. You purple or you pink? Are you purple or are you pink? Natives are right in the middle, yo. Right in the middle.
Mankind. But that's a whole very interesting subject. If you look into the guys I just mentioned, you'll get a lot of insight. I believe what we're looking at here is the burial site of a Nephilim.
Okay. All right, buddy. 7 months ago, a pretty good video. Let's see.
Welcome to Wix Harmony. Take the speed of AI and pixel level control.
Get your
Go from
Bibles.
words
I got something way
into a
better
full
than the
website
Bible.
that's entirely yours to shape. Need a
This
new
is better
page,
than any
section, or a
fucking Bible
restyle?
out
Ask
there.
Aria, your personal AI agent.
This is better than any fucking Bible out there. Any Bible out there. Everybody on the planet still says stuff. You guys never even read this or heard anything from here, but you guys say stuff from here. So, you guys ever say the term, let's bury the hatchet? You see that? The weapons of war buried underneath the tree of peace, the great white pine. You see that? You guys say our stuff. You guys practice our stuff sometimes without even knowing it, without even having to hear any of this. Better than any Bible ever. So, the people say that the Book of Mormon, so you got something happening in America right now. You have mass delusion. People thinking that they are the Hebrew Israelites, the slaves in the Bible that fled Egypt, came to the Americas, became fucking mound builders and lived here, and they were always here, and they spoke Hebrew, and they're Egyptians, and blah blah blah, right? Well, that story has already been told by somebody. That story that these Hebrew Israelites you see on the street trying to read the Bible, they're trying to read the Bible and they're trying to interpret the Bible into meaning that they're Hebrews and we're Hebrews and they were all here with us and we're living peacefully with one another, right? They're reading from the wrong book. They're reading from the wrong book. They're supposed to be reading from the Book of Mormon. The story that they want is already written down in the Book of Mormon. The They state that the Garden of Eden is here. They officially they say it's in Missouri, but originally it's in New York, where Joseph Smith found the tablets, where Sky Woman or Sophia, if you're a Gnostic, planted the first tree of life, tree of knowledge if you're white, or a tree of life if you're fucking something else. For us it was the tree of lights. And I just did a video on that talking about the celestial tree of lights. We'll do a video where we show the mounds. We got mounds, sky domes, mounds, ice walls, Pangea, fucking water world, fucking talking animals, fucking all of it. We got it all. Every culture in the world is in Haudenosaunee culture. Haudenosaunee science is the foundation to science. What about the Darrows? Is that the ones with the long nose? Or the pointy heads? Wait, the Taros are the ones with the pointy heads, and the Darrows got the long nose. Bro, that's Hindu god Ganesh or whatever. You know the Hindu god Ganesh, the elephant? The pink elephant. Kind of weird, right?
Most of us have probably heard about places and artifacts that support the Bible and things that happened in it. But have you ever heard about any evidence that supports the Book of Mormon and things that happened in it? Is there any?
They're gonna come out with Afro Darrows too. Yo, listen, they already did the story of Coob. Dude, they're taking so whoever wrote that some Messiah, fake ass Messiah prophet from one of their black supremacy groups from like the early 60s and 70s and 80s wrote a racist story called The Creation of the White Race or whatever, and they talk about how a mad scientist with 2 brains, and his mom was a tarot with his pointy head that lived in the middle of the earth. Whatever, he fucking made white people by breeding albinos over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah, dude, it's funny actually. But those skulls of the Yakub, you got the Yakub skull down in South America. It's not a real person. It's just a skull that looks like Yakub. You got the Paracas skulls. That would be Yakub's mom, the Taros. This is a total fictional story, by the way. It's not real. That's like their god, though. That's their god. So these Afrocentrics, the Pretendians are Afrocentrics. Even though they like deny everything about Africa, they always talk about Africa. Everything always goes back to them for Africa because they know deep down inside they're African. So yes, they're Afrocentrics. But let's get back on the subject.
Well, the answer is yes, there is. But you have to make an effort to go looking for it because it's not widely known. But it's definitely out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a brief introduction to some real evidence that supports the Book of Mormon. And when I say brief, I'm talking about we're just barely going to scratch the surface here. But first of all, for anybody who doesn't know what the Book of Mormon is all about, it's Christian scripture, like the Bible, about a group of ancient Israelites who came to the land that is now called America around 590 BC. God continued to choose prophets among them and speak to those prophets just as he spoke to the prophets back.
So this is why they say, so we have a lot of prophets in the Northeast. Shawnee, Seneca, there's tons of prophets. So they think that we're part of these bloodlines. Hey, yo, thank you for the gifts, yo. I missed the gifts, yo. I'm sorry. Sometimes I miss the gifts and I don't see it, yo. Thank you. But they say that Native Americans are of these biblical chosen bloodlines because we're like a line of prophets. And you know what? Throughout the Haudenosaunee, you got people with native last names and you got people with biblical last names. Even Israelite last names, yo. Isaacs, Jacobs, Abrams, right? And then for biblical last names, Thomas, John, Jacob, Edward, George, Paul. Those are all biblical names, disciples of Jesus. So, and those are last names. We got first, last names, and that's just the beginning. Williams. If it's a first name, like a biblical first name, it's gonna be a last name for Indians, especially on the East Coast. So like me, I got a Thomas. That was one of Jesus's disciples. He even had his own book, the Secret Book of Thomas. But anyway, yeah, yo, Jesus was just a story that happened all over the place. It happened all over the place. We had our own Jesus. Kanyandayo lay down for 3 days and was resurrected. Had visions, was also a prophet. He predicted the world's gonna end in 2100. So us Senecas, if we're so traditional and we believe in our ways and our roots, majority of us people believe Gaiweo to be a good message, and it's for the people because they still do the Ganonyo and give thanks. And I'm not, let me rephrase that again, because you got people that say they're great law, and then you got people that say they're Gaiweo. I'm both, yo. I'm both, and there will always be a hater that will say, "No, you're not. No, the fuck you're not." There will always be a hater, yo. No, the fuck you're not, yo.
Back over in ancient Israel. And there's plenty of evidence of this civilization right here in North America, but most of us don't hear about it because many American scholars cling to this false idea that nobody had the capability of sailing to America before Christopher Columbus. And they dismiss the thousands of artifacts that show ancient Hebrew, Egyptian, Assyrian, cuneiform, and Christianity in ancient North America. And they say that those thousands of artifacts are all somehow fake, because it goes against their stubborn claim that Columbus was the first one to come here from across the Atlantic Ocean. Well, enough of that rant. Let's get to it. Here's a list.
Wait a minute, what? Were those artifacts found in the Americas?
Israel. And there's plenty of evidence of this civilization right here in North America, but most of us don't hear about it because many American scholars cling to this false idea that nobody had the capability of sailing to America before Christopher Columbus. And they dismiss...
Oh, that was the Bat Creek Stone. Look, that's the fucking, looks like dreidel, 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 dreidel. Isn't it crazy? You learned that in elementary school. I learned that in elementary school, yo, for some reason.
Yes, the thousands of artifacts that show...
That one, they showed a fake one. This looks like Cree to me. Or Blackfoot. This looks like Cree or Blackfoot. I'll show you. Blackfoot alphabet. There you go. Yeah, look at that. That's the Blackfoot alphabet, yo. It looks like that, yo. Yeah, yo, what? That matches that big time, yo. Big time. It looks like music notes, too. See, I knew it looked fucking familiar, yo. So you see the J right there? It says me. And then you got the J. You got a J. You got the J. You got lots of the symbols. Look at this one right here. It's like a 4, kind of like a zigzag 4. Right here, that zigzag 4. Yeah, dude. Look at that. That's a zigzag 4 right there. Right there. Boom, boom. Ka. Dude, that is Blackfoot written on that, yo. Come on, y'all. Is it not? Is it not Blackfoot? Hold on, my people on TikTok. There you go. There you go. Look at that. How does that... Look at that, yo. You see the J. Look at it. It matches it, yo. It matches it. Look at the 4, the zigzag 4. Ka. Look at the last row on the left. The second one up. The zigzag 4, right? Now look over here. The second row up on the left-hand side. It's next to an upside-down 6. Yeah, this is why you guys need to start studying not just your people's tribe, not your people's tribe, what's it called? Does it? Languages, learn other people's stuff, because you might be able to recognize something that somebody else might not be able to. But let's look up the Cree alphabet. So it looks like Blackfoot, but it kind of looks like Blackfoot and Cree mixed together. It looks like Blackfoot and Cree mixed together, yo. Yeah, yo, look. Here's the Cree alphabet. Oh, wait, no. It looks like the Blackfoot alphabet. That looks like the Blackfoot alphabet, yo. Is it? It looks like the Blackfoot alphabet, yo. See the dots and the sixes with the dots, though, and the triangles with the dots? There's a dot with a 6 right there. There's a triangle with a dot right there. Yeah, yo. That's what I'm talking about. And they don't know what languages are written on these, yo. You see what I mean? They don't know the languages that are written on these at all. That's why non-natives can't teach our history, people. I don't even know why they try. And then people eat up this shit. People eat this up. And you got non-natives teaching it, yo. We are the ones that need to be teaching it.
Ancient Hebrew, Egyptian.
So the Egyptian that they're talking about that they find in the Americas, it's not what you think like hieroglyphics. It's Reformed Egyptian. It's a Nephite language that they call it's actually looks like Micmac, to be honest. That's what it looks like. But look at these symbols. Look at these symbols. Now I'm going to show you some of my people's hieroglyphics. These are some of my people's hieroglyphics now, people. See the face? There's a face one. The Goji.
Assyrian.
Yeah, they're saying they find these in the Americas.
Cuneiform.
They did find a cuneiform tablet down in South America too.
And Christianity.
These tablets right here are the fake ones that Joseph Smith forged. This guy showed a couple fake tablets through here too. Like, I've been studying this stuff for years now, and you can tell you get a memory for like which ones are fake and which ones are the real ones. Like these ones right here, these are the Joseph Smith ones that he forged in Illinois.
In ancient North America.
Yeah, and you know what? They do have a huge variety of bearded men being depicted in the Americas. Do natives grow beard? Yeah, here and there. Not a very full beard, but we can.
America, and they say that those.
Yeah, that one's a little obvious. That's a fake right there. That one's a fucking fake.
Thousands of artifacts are all somehow fake. Because
yeah, dude, you're showing a lot of fake stuff that was made in the 1800s.
Because it goes against their stubborn claim that Columbus was the first one to come here from.
Where the fuck did they find that at? Does anybody recognize this one?
Across the Atlantic Ocean. Well, enough of that rant. Let's get to it. Here's a list of what I'm briefly going to talk about in this video. For those of you who already know the Book of Mormon, this list will immediately click to you. We're going to talk about an ancient North American.
Let's see. Many cities and forts surrounded by deep ditches and high walls. It's because the mounds were basically buried pyramids from the mud flood. Many dirt mounds filled with human bones. Metal armor and weapons, yes. Our people, you have the world's oldest sewn clothes, the world's oldest shoes, the world's oldest metalworking, the world's oldest artifacts, the world's oldest everything is here. Haplogroup X originating in the Mediterranean area, including Israel. Yes, we already went over that. Lighter-skinned Native Americans destroyed in a war by darker-skinned Native Americans. Yes, that happened. So a lot of the lighter-skinned natives are from the north, and the darker-skinned natives, shorter ones, are from the south. Ancient Hebrew, Egyptian, Assyrian, cuneiform writings in North America. Yep, you find that stuff. A 600 BC Phoenician ship sailing from the Abraham Gulf of Mexico. That one's going to be new to me. And the earthquake of 1811, 1812, matching the destruction at the time of the Christ crucifixion. So in the War of 1812, Senecas helped the British storm Buffalo. They burned down every single building except for 3. And they also raided Old Fort Niagara. So this lines up with the story that like there was mud floods and fires that burned down all the cities and destroyed half the cities in every single state. From the 1812 to the 1860s, there's been some sort of mud flood or city fire that burned down all the old world buildings. And that's why today archaeologists they're not allowed to dig past like a certain amount of feet, because they will make discoveries of the old world. Plus, they did add 1,000 years to our timeline.
Civilization that begin in the 500s BC and are over by 400 AD. This civilization had many cities and forts surrounded by deep ditches with high walls of dirt. They also had many large mounds of dirt filled with human bones. They had metal armor and weapons, including headplates, breastplates, arm shields, swords, scimitars, axes. They had DNA called Haplogroup X, which is traced back to the Mediterranean area, including Israel. And according to some Native Americans' histories, they were lighter-skinned Native Americans who were destroyed in war by darker-skinned Native Americans. Now, we're also going to talk about ancient Hebrew, Egyptian, Assyrian, and cuneiform writings in North America. We're going to talk about a 600 BC ship sailing the ocean from the Arabian Peninsula to the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to talk about a heavenly God visiting and teaching the ancient Native Americans. We're going to talk about the earthquake of 1811 and 1812, matching the destruction at the time of Jesus Christ's crucifixion. And we're going to talk about Native American words related to Jehovah, the River Sidon, the Narrow Neck, Nephi, and more. Now, I'm willing to guess that most people, including members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka Mormons or LDS, I'm willing to guess that most people don't know about this evidence. I never knew about it until like late 2013 when I went looking for it. Probably like many others in the LDS Church, I used to just assume that the Book of Mormon took place in all of the ancient Americas. I thought it was obvious that South America must be the land south, North America must be the land north, and Central America must be the narrow neck of land connecting the two. But almost all of the evidence in the outline I showed you is only in North America, particularly the eastern half of the United States and lower East Canada. So let's get into it. First, the ancient civilization. So here's the United States, and within this circle, this is the main area where an ancient civilization lived, who were called the Mound Builders. Now there's 2 mound-building civilizations. One is called the Hopewell, and another one is called the Adena. And the Hopewell are who we're going to focus on in this video. They lived from the 500s BC up to 400 AD. Now the Adena, they lived much earlier than the Hopewell. They lived from the 2000s BC right up until about the beginning of the Hopewell. And they lived more near the Great Lakes, but there are traces of the Hopewell and the Adena all throughout the circle and even out west in the western part of the United States area. But before we get talking about them, I just want to explain where the name came from. The name Hopewell has nothing to do with this civilization. The reason why they're called Hopewell is because the very first official archaeologic excavation that was done on the Hopewell Mound Builders was in 1891 on the property of this guy right here. This guy's name is Mordecai Hopewell. Now, there were many excavations done on the mound builders long before 1891, but the United States, as a brand new country, really didn't have an archaeologic organization until much later. And so that's why in 1891 it was the first official archaeological dig. And because it was done on Mordecai Hopewell's property, from that point on, any of the mound building civilization that matched what they found on his property was forevermore called Hopewell. Now, the story with the Adena mound builders, the way that they got the name Adena is a very similar story, but like I say, we're not going to talk about them in this video. That'll be for another video. Now, the oldest Hopewell sites are found right down here around the panhandle of Florida. Those date back to the 500s BC. Now, there's also some other areas that date back to the 500s BC, as you can see right up here along the Atlantic coast, then also in Tennessee, and also up here in Iowa. These are all areas where there are Hopewell sites that date back to the 500s BC, again with the very oldest being right there around the panhandle of Florida. And throughout the centuries, they spread all around this eastern half of the United States and lower east Canada. And then the Hopewell civilization gets smaller and smaller until they end right here in New York around 400 AD. Now, here's some cool things to pay attention to.
Oh, interesting. New York.
According to the Iroquois Native American history, they say that their ancient ancestors sailed in boats somewhere from the east and arrived somewhere around Florida.
I've never heard any Iroquois ever fucking say that. Now I gotta comment on this guy's stuff. What is it? 653? 606 comments. Okay, I seen Iroquois. Okay, if I could make a suggestion, it would be helpful if there is a site or document that you could link the contained sources for these claims and parallels. For example, it would be nice to know which Hopewell sites you refer to when you mention 500 BC sites in Florida and the Carolinas and Tennessee, Iowa. Also, I'd love to read more about the Algonquin and Iroquois origin stories. Also, oh yeah, all right, let me see. 653 or 650. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. I've never heard Iroquois ever say we migrated here on boats from the east. And this would be towards from Africa or Europe or the Middle East, not Asia. You see what I mean when I say how my people are, we're not like Asian, yo. We're something else. I'm not saying that I agree with this. I just know we're a different kind of Indian from the other Indians. Very different. We have a very particular way on how we do things. Very specific. There's taboos, there's do's and don'ts. Very specific ways, protocols and procedures. There's a specific way that I can't really share with you guys because it's private. But I'm just telling you guys, we're different from the other Indians. They're natives, we're Indians. They don't like other Indians, other indigenous Americans don't like the word Indian for some reason, yo. That's crazy to me, yo.
And according to the Algonquin Native American history, they say that their ancient ancestors also sailed somewhere from the east, came down through the St. Lawrence Seaway up in Canada, and arrived in the Great Lakes area. And we read in the Book of Mormon that the Lord led Lehi and a small group of people out of Jerusalem in 600 BC, brought them across the ocean, and they landed somewhere in the Americas in a land south, around 589, 88 BC, somewhere around there. And then a couple years later, back over in Jerusalem in 587 BC, when it was captured by the Babylonians, the Lord led Mulek and a group of people out of Jerusalem and across the ocean into a land that was in the north. And we also read in the Book of Mormon that when Mulek and his group got here in the land that was north, they discovered the last living Jaredite. His name was Coriantumr. He was the last of his people alive because there was a major civil war until they had killed each.
Coriantumr was the last of the Jaredites who lived in ancient America from sometime in the 2000 BCs to about 600 BC. The Jaredites matched the Adena civilization very closely.
Each other off, and so Coriantumr was the last.
This is what you guys got to understand about New York. There's the Confederacy of Nations, not just the six. I showed you that sheet that had all the tribes listed. It had Delaware, Nanaco, fucking Choctaw, and Cherokee listed with the tribes of chiefs that were like part of us, our people. Yo, it's always been a mix of people. Not all tribes are the same, yo. Not everybody looks the fucking same, yo. You got light-skinned natives, dark-skinned natives. Alright. We're plugging it in. Yo. Yo. No? Can you hear anything? Let me plug this in, see what I gotta do. Okay, I got it. There we go. Is it better, guys? Is that better for you? Testing 1, 2, 3. Barely? What? Come on. Really? It should be good on YouTube. It was never bad for you? Maybe you just gotta turn your phone up. How is it over on YouTube, guys? Is it good over there?
One living, and he stayed with Mulek and his people for 9 months, and then he died and was buried by them. And if you remember from the Book of Mormon, the last Jaredite battle took place at the Hill Cumorah in New York, right here.
In Seneca territory, Seneca Cayuga territory, yo. That's what I'm saying, yo. It's like they got these stories from elders from Tonawanda that claim to be disciples of Skanyadayo. So, yeah, like, I'm definitely gonna fucking learn everything I can about this. It doesn't hurt to know.
Not too far from Lake Ontario. And so if the Mulekites came in from the St. Lawrence Seaway down into Lake Ontario and explored around this Great Lakes area, I'm sure that's how they bumped into Coriantumr and picked him up.
Yo, Unc, you gotta hear what he said earlier. He said that the Iroquois have origin stories of coming in here from the east and coming in from Florida at the let me show you real quick. Let me remember my spot. Where are we at? 837. 837 right here. Look at this. Listen to what he said here.
And smaller until they end right here in New York around 400 AD. Now here's some cool things to pay attention to. According to the Iroquois Native American history, they say that their ancient ancestors sailed in boats somewhere from the east and arrived somewhere around Florida. And according to the Algonquin Native American history, they say that their ancient ancestors also sailed somewhere from the east, came down through the St. Lawrence Seaway up in Canada, and arrived in the Great Lakes area. And
yeah. I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Picked him up. Now, when you read in the Book of Mormon, we find out that the people of Mulek settled in one spot, stayed there, and their population grew, and they had a great city called Zarahemla, and their civilization stayed in that area.
Zarahemla. So Zarahemla, Mohawk, and Oneida have L's in their language. Zarahemla reminds me of Saratoga, which is also in New York. Zarahemla, and you got Saratoga, which is also in that territory, in that language. Am I reaching, though? You think I'm reaching? Saratoga and Zarahemla? I don't know.
Until they were discovered by the Nephites sometime between 279 BC and 130 BC. We don't have an exact date for that in the Book of Mormon. It just gives us a time frame. But here's something interesting. If you go to Doctrine and Covenants, section 125, verse 3, here God commands the prophet Joseph Smith to build a city on the opposite side of Nauvoo, Illinois. Now, Nauvoo, Illinois sits right here on
Nauvoo.
The east side of the Mississippi River. And the Lord tells Joseph to build a city on the west side of the Mississippi River, the opposite side from Nauvoo. And he tells Joseph to name that city Zarahemla. Now, the scripture doesn't say that that's where the city Zarahemla was, but it also doesn't say that that's not where the city Zarahemla was. Now, there's only 3 places in LDS.
That's the dumbest argument. Well, it doesn't say there's not. Yeah, it doesn't say I won't punch you in the face either. So, you know.
Church history that I'm aware of that the Lord specifically names himself. One of those places is New Jerusalem. Another one of those places is Adam-on-Diamond.
Allegedly, that's fucking Adam's real name. Allegedly. It reminds me of Somali, Andi. And then Amen. You got Jerusalem. You guys ever heard of Salem, Mass? With the witch trials? That's was named after Jerusalem. Salem. Salem, Mass, Jerusalem.
And the other place is Zarahemla. Now, New Jerusalem and Adam-on-Diamond both have great significance. But not much is said about Zarahemla. But I personally don't think that the Lord would just say, hey, Zarahemla's a cool name. Let's call this place Zarahemla. if there's only 3 places in LDS church history that the Lord names himself, and Zarahemla is one of those places, I think we ought to pay attention to that. And by the way, what state is Zarahemla in? It's in Iowa. And remember, Iowa is one of the places where we find hopeful sites dating back to the 500s BC. And the Amalekites arrived in America.
Okay, so they just found a Iroquois fort, ancient Iroquois fort from the same time period, 500 BC in Indiana, actually, too, over here. And they know it's Iroquois because the longhouse, so in the plains they can find teepee rings. It's like stones around their teepee from ancient times. Same for over here. They know when it's a Iroquois fort, when it's like a gated community, they'll find logs or they'll find the foundation of the longhouses, and they know it's our people because we lived specifically by clan, and you have a lot of people in your clan, and it was like a long house. We actually had buildings, so in our buildings we're like the Freemasons, where our doorways had to face east and west, and Cayugas and Oneidas, their doorways face north and south and whatever. But yeah, yo, it's all that stuff, all the building techniques. We were some of the first iron workers, and still got a whole bunch of iron workers. Native Americans literally had builder gods too. And then your northeast Native Americans, your northeast woodland Native Americans, I would call us your brick lane Native Americans, because you find ancient bricks being laid. Even in Montana, they found a huge wall. It looks like brick, a giant brick wall, yo. But they say it's natural. We'll do a class on that too.
Sometime in the 500s BC, after Jerusalem was destroyed in 580.
Yeah, they were like us. The Masons were like us. I bet you, we were reading on Joseph Brant earlier. I bet you they had him. I bet you they taught them things. We taught the Masons things, yo. I guarantee you, we taught them things. That's the crazy part.
87 BC. But if you pay attention as you're reading in the Book of Mormon, even though the Amalekites arrived in the land northward, they didn't settle there. They settled in the land that would become the land of Zarahemla. And they stayed there and eventually built the great city Zarahemla. And they were there when the Nephites moved further north and discovered them. And again, as you pay attention to your reading in the Book of Mormon, the city Zarahemla and the land of Zarahemla were also a part of the land southward. So the Amalekites arrived in the land northward, but they didn't stay there. They kept moving and settled in Zarahemla, which is in the land southward.
Yo, so I know I'm not the only one that has heard of Viking Israelites. Put a 1 in the chat if you have heard of the Vikings being one of the lost tribes of Israel. Put a 1 in the chat if you have heard something along those lines. Put a 2 in the chat if I'm crazy. It was actually earlier than that. It was the year 700. Eric the Red. Okay. Dang. Yeah, put a 1 in the chat. I need to see if you have heard of them becoming not. So I heard that they were the tribe that the Celts, the Celtics, the Irish, and the Vikings were the tribe of Dan, because the serpent, or they were the tribe of Levi. That's what I heard. And these are like Israelite tribes, lost tribes. And for some reason, the Black Hebrew Israelites do not list the tribe of Dan. They also used to think that the Iroquois were of the tribe of Dan, because Iroquois means the black snake. And that's what your join or die 13 colonies flag was, copying us. No, it's just, if you heard of that, the Viking Israelites, I could definitely see them coming up through there, because the people that knew this route right here, only select few people knew this way. So the Vikings knew this way, the Knights Templar knew this way. They learned it from each other, but we were the ones that basically taught them how to come here. And they were coming here and trading with us. They came and stayed for 100 years, actually. So not everybody knew this way how to get here. Only certain few people. And you can find it written on stone, actually. But let's watch this.
So if the Mulekites came in through the St. Lawrence Seaway, north of the Great Lakes, and that area being the land northward, they come down through the St. Lawrence Seaway into Lake Ontario, explore around that area, they find Coriantumr, the last Jaredite, but they don't stay there, they keep moving.
The Cumorah Hill, you know what's funny? I think they know something we don't know, yo. I think they know something we don't know. Because if you've been watching my content, you would know that we know where the Garden of Eden is. The Garden of Eden is in New York, and it's not too far from there. Yesterday we were looking at it. It's in Gilboa Forest, the world's oldest forest on the planet. It's near Cairo, New York, where the Finger Lakes are. If you look at where the Finger Lakes are, that's God's handprint. After him and his brother got done fighting, he took a knee down and blessed the land. That's where the garden is. This is where he went and blessed the land where they planted those first trees, where his grandmother planted these first trees on the turtle's back, actually. Yeah, yo. You're gonna look it up? I already got it on my YouTube, bro. I got everything you need on my YouTube. Every day we talk about this stuff. We make major historical life-changing discoveries over here. And for some reason they silence this. They shadow ban what I'm talking about. Because they don't want you guys to know the Garden of Eden is in New York. And that there's always been all kinds of people here.
And then eventually settle in Iowa, which is also the state where the Lord told Joseph to build a city and call it Zarahemla, right across the river from Nauvoo, Illinois. It's something pretty cool to think about. Now let's talk about the Hopewell sites found in Tennessee that date back to the 500s BC. If you remember from the Book of Mormon, still sometime in the 500s BC when Nephi was still alive, he talks about how his older brothers, Laman and Lemuel, were becoming more and more hostile to him and the people who sided with him. Laman and Lemuel thought, because they were the older brothers, that they should be the rulers after Lehi, their father, passed away. But Nephi was the ruler of the people. And Laman and Lemuel didn't like that one bit. And the Lord warns Nephi that Laman and Lemuel are going to try and kill him, and that he needs to take all the people who will follow him and leave that land. And so Nephi does as the Lord commands, and he leaves that area and goes northward to what they later call the land of Nephi. And that's where they settle. And this is still sometime in the 500s BC. And that's where you get the division of Lehi's children, one division being called the Lamanites, after the older brother Laman, and the other group being called Nephites, after the younger brother Nephi. So anyways, throughout the Book of Mormon, the Nephites and the Lamanites continue to grow. The Nephites eventually meet up with the Mulekites, like I mentioned earlier. The Nephites leave the land of Nephi and go north and discover the Mulekites living in Zarahemla. And the Mulekites join with the Nephites, and so they're all called Nephites. And throughout the centuries in the Book of Mormon, the Lamanites and the Nephites continue to grow. They fight and have wars with each other. And eventually the Lamanites start to overpower the Nephites in war, and the Nephites are chased north and east by the Lamanites up into New York, where the hill Cumorah is, the same place where the Jaredites were destroyed 1,000 years earlier. And by 400 AD, the Nephites had been completely destroyed by the Lamanites. And what few survivors there were of the Nephites, the Book of Mormon tells us that they joined in with the Lamanites rather than die. So there's some brief parallels about how the Nephites and Lamanites fit nicely with the Hopewell people.
Pretty good. Goji, please. Not now. Oh, great, yo. Yeah, that was pretty good. So, I'm not a Mormon. I got Mormons in my family, though. Indian Mormons, too. It's pretty interesting, though, because you never hear stuff like this, ever. Nobody ever talks about this. People think this stuff is lame, but there's actual evidence to back up what they're saying. That's why it's kind of like people don't really like to talk about it, because it goes against what they've been taught. People don't like what they don't understand. So if I'm giving you all kinds of proof and evidence that what you know to be the truth is a fucking lie, you're not gonna like me so much, especially if I'm rubbing it in your face like how I've been. I'm trying not to be like that either. This information isn't for everybody. It's not. Because this information really is kind of challenging the Darwin theory, evolution, and mainstream science. And I don't need to go off of their science. I go off of common sense and logic. Like, it's possible. It's definitely a possibility that Native Americans would be the ancestors to everybody. Definitely a possibility. Because when you put our bones on the spectrum next to everybody else's bones, we are either at the beginning or the end. We're either the oldest or the youngest. And I believe we're the oldest. I don't think we come from Africans. That don't even make sense. You think our hair was black or curly and we're black? Big nose, big lips, and we turn into this? No. They used to look like us and they turned into that from mixing with Homo erectus and the lady and Africanus and Heidelbergensis and whatever the fuck they are, habilis. They're 20% of that. So that's what happened to them. They never left that area too. Whatever, there's different beings, different species. Native Americans, this giant race was the Denisovans. Native Americans had that DNA. The giant DNA lives on in us today. That's who your biblical giants were. Your New York Giants. They put the truth right in your face. Even with your football teams. New York Giants, Minnesota Vikings, your Kensington Runestone. There's more out there. Information is for everybody. You don't need permission to go do it. Just do it. You don't need permission to learn your culture. You don't need permission to learn the truth. You don't need fucking permission to be fucking awesome all the time. And I'm trying not to swear so much. It's just the way I talk, though. I talk like a sailor, yo. Denisovan DNA is found the highest in Oceania. Yeah, those are our cousins. Those are our cousins over there. The Samoans, the Polynesians, the Hawaiians, and even the Aboriginals in Australia. Those are our cousins down there. Anybody that's indigenous is our cousin. Anybody that's solstice people. Actually, we are all related. Yo, I got a video for you guys to watch. Dude, I got a video for you guys to watch, yo. I got a video for you guys to watch. Oh. This guy stopped watching Dane Calloway and he was crying about it. They replaced our tribes. What the fuck? Yo, they're copying my swag now, yo. That's crazy, yo. Yo, Dane Calloway is copying my swag, yo. Hold on. What the fuck, yo? Let me try to find this video real quick for you guys. I'm probably not going to be able to find it. But the Duke said he quit watching Dane Calloway. And he was crying about it, yo. That's funny. Who, Dane Calloway? He's trying to claim Lakota. Oh. Oh, okay. I found it. Right here. This is it. It's gonna be here. I got it. Watch this.
Well, I guess in this little rant or whatever you want to call it, I'm gonna tell y'all why I have to stop watching. Man, it hurts because I consider him a brother that helped. I had to stop watching Dane Calloway videos. Because it looks good on paper, but it isn't real life. So that's where like I was saying, that's where I found out this whole idea of us black. I'm not saying us or we no more. I'm done with that. I'm sorry. This whatever out there. So I'm like, okay, let me go find out what this culture's all about. And that's where I was introduced to a sweat lodge, Sundance ceremony.
He met some real natives.
And after that, it just, his videos just didn't make they're just not making sense to me. They're good, very informative. Makes you want to question everything. But I can't do it no more. It's
fake.
Just...
He's right. He's like disgusted with himself, yo. It's to sit there and deny reality, yo. You gotta be a complete lowlife to sit there and deny fucking slavery, deny being black and African. That's fucking disgusting, yo. It's self-hate, yo. You gotta fucking hate yourself to be a pretendian, yo. Honestly. You gotta be like the lowest fucking form of human being to be a pretendian. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's not working for me. But like I said, he makes great videos. He sparked an interest, and then I took it a step further.
And he went and did his homework and met some real natives, and they took him in.
And Aho, Mitakio Asen, means we're all related in Lakota.
Yeah, see? They took them in, yo. That's how our people are. That's how our people are. They're fucking good people, yo. We'll still take you in even though you fucking probably talk shit about us. You probably called us all fucking Siberians and all that. It's just these dudes aren't comfortable in their own skin. That's why they are the way they are, yo. Isn't that how we got into this mess? With letting them in? Right, yo? Right? That's what I'm saying. He's in Ohio. That guy? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then he's gonna go start his own shit and he's gonna go recruit everybody that watched Dane Calloway because he knows something better than Dane Calloway don't know. They all beef with each other in the pretendian world too. So you think it's because they're mixed? I don't even know if they're mixed, bro. If they were actually native, don't you think they would have like grew up part of the culture? Because we got black relatives and they know who they are. They're not out. Like, that's the thing. What I mean is, like, bro gotta go to get accepted by like random natives that are willing to take him in and show him. That's not a real connection. You know, a real connection is like your family. That's a real connection. You got to kind of be born into it to have that real connection. And I'm blessed to be part of that. And I don't think I'm better than anybody because of it. You know, it's just that there's appropriation and culture vultures, and people are trying to rewrite our history and speak on our behalf and say that we're not who we say we are. And yeah, yo. So that shit's gonna end. It's already I've seen it start to die out. I think they're starting to catch on that, like, you're creating enemies. You can't bitch or bully fucking natives, really. You can't. It's like, you see what I mean? It's not going the way they want. It's actually going the other way. They want to be called Indians so bad, but they're literally being known as Wabos and Pretendians. I don't even want to call them Pretendians anymore because they like it because it has the word Indian in it. Like, that's how like obsessed and infatuated they are. It's a destiny swap. They're okay with being called Pretendians as long as it got the word Indian in it. Like, even beefing with us in their mind thinks they're like on our level and in our indigenous bracket. They think they're in an indigenous bracket and they're like somewhat tribal now because they're beefing with real Indians. No, you're just proving that you're against the Indians and you're the opposite of what the ops of the Indians are. Not Indians. Indians don't beef with their own relatives and their own people. We're all one people. Ever since the colonizers came here, you act like the colonizer, you think like the colonizer, you pray like the colonizer, everything about you is like the colonizer. Let's see what else they got.
The so-called mound builder culture of North America has been hugely underestimated and not given the priority it deserves, but the few sites that are left speak of enormous sophistication, and the horizon keeps on going back and back and back. So Poverty Point in Louisiana, fantastic site, very large scale, enormous pyramidal structure there. But it is and dated to about 2,700 years ago, but it's directly connected to another site, Watson Break, which is just a mile to the south. It's lined up perfectly with Watson Break. The two sites are anchored to one another. Watson Break goes back 5,300 years ago. There are other sites that go back 8,000 years ago, and these are just the ones that have survived. I think that mound builder culture, as it's called in North America, goes back deep into the Ice Age as well. The so-called mound builder culture of North America has been hugely underestimated and not given the priority it deserves, that the few sites that are left speak of enormous sophistication, and the horizon keeps on going back and back and back. So Poverty Point in Louisiana, fantastic site, very large scale, enormous pyramidal structure there. But it is and dated to about 2,700 years ago, but it's directly connected to another.
This girl's stuff is really good.
They told you the world was a ball, spinning, floating, perfect, wrapped in blue and crowned with satellites. But what if that image, the one in every classroom, on every phone, in every mind, was never meant to inform you? It was meant to limit you. The globe is not a map, it's a containment model. A closed-loop visual spell designed to make sure you never ask, what's beyond the edge? Antarctica isn't a continent, it's a barrier. A sealed frozen ring that surrounds all known land. There are no fly zones, international treaties that no one questions, guarded borders with military enforcement. They say it's for science, but no one builds worldwide military restrictions just to protect penguins. What are they really hiding at the edge? Because old maps, they don't place Antarctica at the bottom. They place it around the world, a circle, a cage. Look into the archives before NASA, before the UN, before the modern globe. You'll find maps with extra continents, unknown lands, islands bigger than Australia, now missing. The Orontes Phineas map 1531 shows Antarctica ice-free, with rivers and cities. The Piri Reis map 1513 includes land no one has discovered. The Japanese Heiko maps show concentric realms with more land beyond ours. These weren't guesses, these were records. And they weren't wrong, they were redacted. There are places you can't go, not because they don't exist, but because they're sealed, marked as no access, uninhabitable or classified. The maps cut them off, the globe curves them out, but the ancients included them. Beyond the ice wall, beyond the poles, there are lands never spoken of in modern education. Some called them Hyperborea, others called them Terra Infinita. What's clear is that
She had better ones, yo. That dragon one was really good.
the Garden of Eden was never the beautiful paradise the Bible wants you to believe. It was a restricted, high-security genetic laboratory, a sterile, heavily guarded facility run by the Anunnaki. Hundreds of thousands of years before the Bible was ever written, the Anunnaki had already landed on Earth. They didn't come here to play gods. They came here to mine gold. To do the dirty work, they took an existing primitive hominid species and brutally modified it into what the Sumerian tablets called the Lulu, crude, simple, disposable slave workers. These early humans were released across the planet like cattle and left to breed and toil. Centuries later, a far more sinister and ambitious experiment began, inside a place the Sumerians called Eden, the house of the gods. This is the true origin of what the Bible later twisted into Eden. This is why the entire biblical story is completely inverted. Humanity was already here long before Adam was ever created. Eden wasn't the birthplace of mankind. It was a cold, clinical facility where a new master race was secretly bred in a lab. Two creators, two completely opposing agendas, two entirely different species living on the same planet at the same time. One designed to live and die in the dirt as slaves. One designed to sit on the throne as gods. And that is exactly what the oldest records on Earth actually tell us. And this is where the story gets even darker. After Cain was marked.
The one that was meant to... That's the dragon bloodline. And you know what's crazy? That's our creation story, y'all. Left hand and right hand, both bloodlines, because there's the version out there that he made his own people too. And they say he had flint all over his body and scales or whatever, or he was deformed too. He was different color, different eye, different hair, or different color hair. But he had a flint, a mohawk that cut his mom. That's why he came out the side of his mom. Because he had, and that's why we wear mohawks today, they say. So that sounds like dragon, you know? It sounds like a fucking dragon fin on top of his head. Yo, that's the dragon bloodline. Anybody with Asiatic eyes, I believe That's not. I used to think people with Asiatic eyes, because people with Asiatic eyes also have forward fangs and shovel teeth and extra teeth. That's like, I thought it was a cat. I thought we were Lyrans, yo. But it's actually a type of dragon, yo. Like a sky panther or Quetzalcoatl. It's dragon, yo. That's what it is. The dragons in China got lion and tiger heads. But there's two bloodlines. Like a ape monkey one, organic one, and then a dragon reptilian one. There's a mammal primate one, and then a reptilian sapien one.
Sent away, the two bloodlines began to spread across the earth like two rival seeds planted in the same soil. The older, primitive Lulu bloodline, the original worker race, continued to multiply in the wild. They were the masses, the labourers, the ones designed to live short, brutal lives in the dirt. The newer, upgraded Adamu bloodline, the royal hybrids carrying heavier Anunnaki
Adamu, which means red earth or red clay.
Genetics, became the rulers, the kings, the priests, and the bloodlines that would
and your prophets. Remember, they're talking about it was a bloodline of prophets. A bloodline of prophets. Come on. These are your bloodlines, your chosen holy bloodlines. When they say it's holy, what they mean it's like alien.
They call themselves the elite. This was never an accident, it was the plan from the beginning. One bloodline engineered to serve, one bloodline engineered to rule. And for thousands of years they lived side by side on the same planet, one species looking down on the other never fully understanding why they felt so different. This split is the real origin of the us and them dynamic that still runs the world today. The descendants of the ruling bloodline eventually became the royal houses, the priestly castes, and later the hidden financial dynasties. Some of these lines still exist today, the ones the conspiracy researchers call the 13 bloodlines. They didn't just appear out of nowhere in the Middle Ages. They trace straight back to this
13 tribes. They say it's 12 lost tribes, but it's actually 13 tribes, with the 13th tribe being Israel. And then you got the 13 colonies.
Ancient genetic divide. The ones who remained part of the...
And then you got 13 blood stripes on the 13 stripes, white and black, white and red, to signify the bloodlines, because you got white blood cells and red blood cells. But those lines, those red lines, are the 13 bloodlines on the United States flag.
The original worker class became the vast majority of humanity, the ones who are still to this day being worked, taxed, distracted, and harvested for their emotional energy. Two bloodlines, two destinies, one planet.
They're farming loosh off of us by making us real angry and stressed all the time. They feed off of negative energies, like how a cat farms loosh off of, when it has a mouse, it collects the loosh off of it, because they're descendants of dragons too. It's like a cat, dragon cat, sky panther, but they farm loosh off the cat or off the squirrel or the little mouse by getting fear out of it. It's like a smell that comes off of it. They can smell fear on them, and it's like a scent that they give off when they're scared, and it's they feed off that energy. It's an energy that they can get high off of, and it's called loosh. Reptilians, lizards, whatever.
Designed to stay asleep and generate loosh. One designed to stay awake just enough to keep the farm running smoothly. This is why some people feel like they don't belong here. Why some bloodlines carry ancient memories and dragon fire in their veins, while others seem completely content with the system. It was never meant to be one humanity. It was always two species sharing the same cage, and the oldest records on Earth have been screaming this truth since the very beginning. The Bible just flipped the script and told you to worship the warden. And once you understand this split, everything about our world starts to make a terrifying kind of sense. The ruling bloodline, the upgraded Adamu hybrids carrying heavier Anunnaki genetics, never fully left. They simply went underground, changed their names, and continued their ancient role as the hidden controllers. These are the...
And you know what? I think that one of the bloodlines may have... So she said that they went underground, and then we have a long line of prophets too. These bloodlines over here are chosen. She's saying that the Adamu, which is red earth, red clay, which would be the Indians, we are like God's chosen people, right? We went underground. When they came back here, right, they're like those dragon bloodlines. We're the original bloodlines, right? the original Earthling, right? They're like the bad one. They got the bad minds. We're the good mind. They're like trying to. They've enslaved us, basically, and they control us. They're still in power. We were in power over here by ourselves, doing our own thing, but once colonization happened, they enslaved us, yo. We're still enslaved. On the reservations, those are POW camps, concentration camps. The reservation sovereignty is an illusion. It's not real sovereignty. We don't even have our own money. There's third world countries out there being ran by these bloodlines too. These same people. It's all goes back to the same people, yo.
The bloodlines that became the royal houses of Europe, the black nobility of Venice and Rome, and later the banking dynasties that still pull the strings today. Some researchers call them the 13 bloodlines. They are not random rich families. They are the direct descendants of the ones engineered inside Eden to rule. Meanwhile, the original worker race, the older, cruder Lulu bloodline, became the vast majority of humanity. The ones who are still thousands of years later, working, consuming, paying taxes, fighting wars, and generating the emotional energy the farm needs to keep running. The other bloodline carries the programming to obey and never ask why. This divide was never meant to be healed. It was the entire point of the experiment. The ruling bloodline was given just enough consciousness to manage the farm. The worker bloodline was given just enough to keep producing loosh without ever waking up. And every major religion, every system of control, every war, every economic collapse, it has all been engineered to maintain this ancient split. The Bible didn't just rewrite history. It told the upgraded bloodline to worship the very being that designed their superiority, while telling the rest of us to accept our place as eternal servants. Two bloodlines, two destinies, one prison planet, and the oldest records on Earth have been trying to tell us this truth since the very first clay tablet was pressed. The only question left is, which bloodline are you actually carrying? And when you finally remember, what are you going to do about it? This is why the world has always felt like it was designed for two different species. One group feels the cage, the other group seems perfectly content inside it. One bloodline carries the ancient memory of fire and rebellion. The other bloodline carries the programming to obey and never ask why. This divide was never meant to be healed. It was the entire point of the experiment. The ruling bloodline was given just enough consciousness to manage the farm.
So I know a lot of y'all are thinking that it might be two bloodlines, black and white. If you're thinking it's black people and white people, you're wrong. You're absolutely fucking wrong. They don't even make up half of the world together. That's not them. They're not the main characters. That proves colonization is working if you thought it was black and white people. No. If anything, black and white people would be on the same side together. It would be them versus all the Asiatic people. Round eye versus slant TI, basically. Because we got a different genetic makeup. Different ancestors. We're different from them.
The worker bloodline was given just enough to keep producing loosh without ever waking up. And every major religion, every system of control, every war, every economic collapse, it has all been engineered to maintain this ancient split. The Bible didn't just rewrite history. Now here's the part they really don't want you thinking about. If humanity was split into two different engineered species from the very beginning, then the war we're living in today isn't between nations, races, or political sides. The ruling bloodline never forgot who they were. They kept the knowledge, the blood rituals, the occult practices, and the ancient bloodline records. They've spent millennia making sure the original worker class stays asleep, distracted, and emotionally farmed.
What happened.
Every system you see, religion, money, media, education, even modern medicine, was designed with one purpose: to keep the majority of humanity in a permanent state of low-frequency survival mode, generating the maximum amount of loosh while never remembering who they truly are. This is why some bloodlines seem to glide through life with unnatural protection, while the vast majority struggle, suffer, and stay broke, no matter how hard they work. It's not a conspiracy. It's the natural result of two genetically different species living in the same prison.
Yes, we are living in a system designed to destroy us and wipe our people out. And some of us are doing fine. But some of us, we need to help our relatives and be more kind to our people. Me, I'm trying to work on myself. I am not perfect, yo. I am far from freaking perfect. Thank you for all the gifts, guys. I can't see the gifts on when I'm on TikTok Studio. I don't see the gifts. I just see it. The number goes up, so I don't get to see anything. So my bad, guys. If you guys are sending me something and I don't say anything, it's because I don't see them. But yeah, yo, I'm not perfect, yo. I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying not to go back and forth with bums, yo. That's my problem. That's a big problem of mine. I go back and forth with fucking bums.
With one still carrying out its original programming to manage the farm. The oldest tablets don't hide this. They openly admit that the gods created two different kinds of humans for two different purposes. The Bible just repackaged it, gave it a new coat of paint, and told you to worship the warden who designed the whole system. So the real question isn't, is this true? The real question is, which bloodline are you actually carrying inside you? Because when you finally remember, you don't just wake up. You become a threat to the entire farm. And that's exactly why they've spent thousands of years making sure most of us never do. And if you're still sitting there thinking, this can't be real, then ask yourself one simple question. Why does the world feel so perfectly engineered to keep most people in a constant state of fear, distraction, and emotional exhaustion? Because that is the harvest. The ruling bloodline doesn't need your money. They don't need your vote. They don't even need your obedience. They need your energy. Every war, every pandemic, every financial crash, every celebrity scandal, every social media outrage, it's all carefully timed and amplified to keep the emotional output high. The Archons and their human managers don't care which side you're on. They only care that you're feeling something intensely. This is why the system always pushes division. Left versus right, black versus white, man versus woman, rich versus poor. As long as you're hating, fearing, or worshipping something outside yourself, you're producing the exact frequency they need to feed on. The oldest Sumerian records already warned us. The gods didn't create one happy humanity. They created two separate races with two separate roles. One to generate the energy, one to manage the generators. And for thousands of years, that system has remained almost unchanged. The only difference now is the technology. They no longer need whips and chains. They have smartphones, 24-hour news cycles, debt, porn, processed food, and constant dopamine hits to keep the majority of the population in a permanent low-level trance, producing loosh without ever realizing they're livestock. So when you feel that deep, unexplainable emptiness, when you look around and think none of this makes sense, when you feel like you don't belong here, that's not depression. That's the old spark inside you remembering what it was before they put it in this cage. The farm doesn't want you to remember, but the oldest records on Earth are still screaming the truth. You were never meant to be cattle. You were never meant to worship the warden. And the moment enough of us stop feeding the harvest, the entire system collapses. That's not the end of the world. That's the end of the farm. The farm is ancient, but it is not invincible. The ruling bloodline has spent thousands of years perfecting the cage, but they made one critical mistake. They gave some of us too much of their own DNA. Not everyone walking this earth is pure livestock. Some bloodlines carry a heavier spark, the old dragon fire, the serpent wisdom, the memory of what we were before they locked us in here. These are the ones who feel the cage the most, the ones who never quite fit, the ones who wake up at 3 a.m. with the unshakable feeling that none of this is real. That feeling is not madness. It is the spark remembering. And every time one of us fully remembers, every time we stop feeding the harvest with our fear, our rage, our mindless devotion, the entire system weakens. This is why they fear Gnosis more than anything else. Not because it makes you spiritual, but because it makes you dangerous. When enough sparks remember who they are, the loosh dries up. The frequency fence starts to fail. The Archons lose their food source. The farm begins to starve.
The AI Toolkit is live on Artlist. Every leading AI tool you need for video creation is now organized for you.
Can you teach me?
All that's missing is your story. Get all the latest image, video, and voiceover models in one clean experience so you can focus on what really matters, telling your story. Go to Artlist and start creating without limits.
High in the Astero Mountains of Zacatecas, Mexico, where the air thins to half its sea level density and temperatures plunge below freezing most nights, there sits a cave that shouldn't matter. Chickwit White Cave rests at 2,740 meters above sea level, roughly 1,000 meters above the valley floor. For thousands of years, it sat undisturbed, its entrance sealed by a massive collapse sometime at the end of the Pleistocene. In 2010, archaeologist Cyprian Ardalayan from the Autonomous University of Zacatecas reached the site for the first time. 2 years later, he drilled a test pit. What came out of that hole would spark one of the most intense archaeological debates of the 21st century. Stone tools, hundreds of them. And according to radiocarbon dating of surrounding organic material, some were sitting in layers dating back 26,000 years. Others, possibly 33,000 years. This wasn't supposed to be possible. For most of the 20th century, the accepted timeline for human arrival in the Americas was straightforward. People crossed the Beringia land bridge from Siberia approximately 13,000 years ago, when retreating glaciers opened a migration corridor. The Clovis culture represented the first Americans, their distinctive stone tools scattered across archaeological sites from Alaska to Mexico. This narrative was taught in classrooms, written into textbooks, defended in academic journals. Then Chickwit White happened. The site didn't just push back the timeline by a few hundred years. It potentially doubled it. If Ardalayan's dating was accurate, humans were in central Mexico 15,000 years before the Clovis people existed. During the last glacial maximum, when continental ice sheets covered much of North America and temperatures in northern Mexico would have been brutally cold, people were not only present, but actively making tools, hunting, and surviving in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. The cave itself is not welcoming. Two interconnected chambers stretch more than 50 meters wide and 15 meters high. The floor slope.
The Garden of Eden was never the beautiful paradise the Bible wants.
Which one do you guys want to watch? The Mud Flood? The Dragon, Sons, Bloodlines, Blood Types, Witch Blood. Let's watch the Mud Flood one.
Let's use Airtable to create
The Mud Flood. What really happened? This wasn't just a flood, it was a reset, a geospiritual purge, not from nature, from them. The elite bloodlines didn't just erase history, they buried it, literally. The mud wasn't water and dirt, it was liquidated memory, a slurry of alchemical reaction, sound frequency, and geo-engineered destruction. This was weaponized Earth. They triggered it using ancient tech, resonance devices, tower harmonics, something like harp but older, much older. It didn't just cover buildings, it silenced truth. Tartaria wasn't a lost empire, it was the empire, worldwide, unified, based on free energy, ether tech, vibration, sound, water, and sacred geometry. The architecture still whispers it. Star forts, orphan trains, cathedrals tuned like instruments. They were building with resonance, not brick, and that scared the parasite class. So what did they do? They turned the ether grid against itself, hijacked the somatic fields, triggered a resonance collapse. Stone became liquid, mountains bled. The ground rose and swallowed whole cities. That's what the mud was. Not sediment, not flood water, resonance fallout from a frequency war. The so-called mud flood appears worldwide. Buried windows, half-submerged doors, cities built on top of cities, perfectly preserved ruins beneath fresh layers of soil. But there's a problem. There are no matching water systems, no mega tsunamis, no volcanic evidence. And yet, structures 20 plus feet deep, encased in packed sediment. This wasn't erosion, it was instant burial. The only force that could do that globally, with precision. Sound. Tartarian cities weren't primitive. They were powered by resonant architecture, buildings designed to generate and receive frequency. Domes, antennas, star forts, giant tuning forks disguised as monuments. These structures didn't just look beautiful, they harnessed free energy, pulled from the ether, distributed wirelessly through geometry and sound. The enemy didn't just want to destroy the people, they needed to shut down the grid. And to do that, they had to collapse the frequency field. There's a phenomenon called soil liquefaction. Vibrate the ground at just the right frequency, and the solid turns to sludge. Not water, not mud, but a state change triggered by vibration. The earth becomes a trap. Foundations fail, stone sinks. And if it's done on a massive scale, you get the mud flood. It didn't fall from the sky, it rose from beneath, triggered by resonance weapons. This was geoacoustic warfare, and it worked. Ancient texts speak of trumpets that leveled cities, walls that fell from shouting, temples that hummed themselves into collapse. These weren't myths, they were acoustic weapons. Tartaria likely had its own frequency defenses. So to break it, the controllers needed tech even stronger, tuned to the exact harmonic signature of Tartarian architecture. This wasn't random destruction, it was targeted dissonance, resonance sabotage. The same way opera singers shatter glass, but scaled up to citywide collapse. Every reset needs a story, a cover, a myth, and so they blamed it on floods, natural disasters, time, chaos. They rewrote the maps, changed the calendars, buried the history, literally. But the truth is buried in plain sight. The doors below grounded the streets beneath streets, the melted stone that looks like mud. Tartaria wasn't wiped out by water, it was erased by sound. And the silence that followed, that was the real flood. They call them mud fossils, but they're not bones. They're entire beings petrified in sediment. Organs, skin, muscle tissue, some with cellular structures still visible under microscope. Discovered in mountains, cliffsides, deserts, often dismissed by mainstream science. But look again, massive limbs, toes, ribs, eyelids sealed shut in stone, caves shaped like skulls, hills with bone marrow core, mountains with vertebrae. These aren't natural formations, these are corpses, buried, hardened, encoded in rock. And they all point to one thing. Something enormous died suddenly and was flash entombed in mud. How does living tissue turn to stone? Answer, rapid mineral replacement. Usually takes eons, but under the right conditions. High frequency, sudden pressure, saturated iron-rich sediment, you get instant petrification. It's the same tech used to make artificial stone today. Except this happened on a global scale during the mud flood. It wasn't just buildings that sank, it was giants, creatures, entities. Whole bioforms turned to mountains, some still pulse beneath the crust. Fossils aren't dead, they're dormant, and the system doesn't want you near them. Mythology speaks of titans, beings of immense scale who walked before the age of man. Because if we remember what we're standing on, we remember what they killed to make room for us. The flood wasn't just about Tartaria, it was about wiping the past completely. It was a mass extinction, not just of people, but of giants, gods, original beings, and organic tech. Everything too big, too ancient, too free, collapsed under the weight of a sound that shook the earth's bones. Then they buried it, rewrote the map, taught us we evolved from monkeys and that the bones in the ground are prehistoric lizards. Some were their homes, some were their batteries, and when the resonance wave hit, the energy hit them too. It calcified their cells, turned blood to mineral, flesh to rock, that now we walk on their backs, build cities on their chests, mine stone from their skulls. The Earth's terrain is not just rock and dirt, it's biological ruin. There are cliffs with arterial cross-sections, mountains with ligaments, ridges with skin folds. Satellite imaging shows vein-like patterns running across continents. Some hills bleed iron when cracked, like oxidized blood. Some stones release smells, decay, rot, ammonia, when split. That's not geology, that's decomposition. But we're taught to call it natural, to pave over it, to never ask what mountain that used to be. The flood wasn't just about Tartaria, it was about wiping the past completely. It was a mass extinction, not just of people, but of giants, gods, original beings, and organic tech. Everything too big, too ancient, too free, collapsed under the weight of a sound that shook the earth's bones. Then they buried it, rewrote the map, taught us we evolved from monkeys and that the bones in the ground are prehistoric lizards. No, they were witnesses and they were silenced in stone. But some of them, they're still here. You can feel them when you touch the rock, and they remember. After the mud flood, the world was empty. Cities with no people, buildings with no owners.
Damn, I got fucking banned, yo. Guys, I got banned. Yeah, yo, I just got banned, yo. That's crazy. Dang, yo. You guys alright? Damn, I can't believe I got banned for 3 days on Facebook. That's wild. Yeah, yo, some people are just haters, yo. It's a DNA war. Let's see.
We should care.
Yo, what the fuck, yo? Some people are just fucking haters, yo. Like, shut the fuck up, bro. Yeah, dude, get the fuck out of here, bro. Garden of Eden. Look up Garden of Eden in my videos and watch them all.
So where I'm from in upstate New York, they uncovered the world's oldest fossil forest. And this is in our creation story that all life, all creation began here, and this would have been like the first garden for the original people. And we've always been here. We began here on Turtle Island. Now, the Finger Lakes is Creator's handprint. There was a battle between the twins of good and evil, and the good twin wins. So he took a knee and he blessed the land, and that's how you got the Finger Lakes. And they named those lakes after us: Seneca, Cayuga, Oneida, Canandaigua, right? After the Haudenosaunee people, the people of the Longhouse. This land is truly a sacred and holy land because the pilgrims started calling themselves pilgrims because they were taking a sacred or holy trip. That's what a pilgrimage is. You take a sacred or holy trip to a sacred or holy land. Muslims take a pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in their lifetime. And this is also one of the oldest forests found on the planet. It goes back 380 million years. So the true Garden of Eden would be on Turtle Island. You still have natives that are part of protected tribes. It's illegal to try to make contact with them that still live how Adam and Eve were intended to live. They still have the original instructions, and they didn't wear clothes. Adam and Eve didn't wear clothes. You still got natives like that down in the Amazon. They would heal themselves from the plants. We're related to the plants, three sisters, Cornsby and Squash. We're children of the earth. We are the original people. And it would seem that everybody used to look Native American because AI says that everybody will look like Native Americans in the future. So wouldn't everything go back to its original self, right?
The digital life. It can get a little weird these days. That's why we built WebRoot's all-in-one protection, so you're safe for every moment of it. With antivirus protection that flags fishy emails, identity protection for that shopping spree that wasn't really you, was it? And privacy protection for when that deodorant ad won't stop following you, even though you smell great. WebRoot has everything you need to make your digital life a little less weird. Better even.
Damn, I forgot I was on live, yo. Yo, sometimes I forget I'm on live, yo. I go live so much. Yo, I think we're gonna call it a night, yo. I was live all day today. I'd like to work on some content, post some content for you guys, alright? So, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. We did get banned. Let me see if I won my appeal. Appeal approved. I did win my appeal. Let's hop back on over there. That's a good thing, guys. Here we go. We're on now. We won our appeal. Yeah, we got banned, yo. That's what happened. Yeah. That was a ban. That's what a ban looks like. Real quick. Damn, I got one of the coolest lives, yo. I feel so honored to be part of such a fucking beautiful culture, yo. I gotta give it up. I gotta give it up to the Wabos. They have definitely fucking made me more protective and more territorial over my culture. So hell yeah. Shout out to the Wabos. Fuck you, you can't try to take my culture. Right? Brought me closer to mine. I took my culture for granted, yo. I took my culture for granted, yo. I grew up in it and I grew out of it. Cause I thought it was always gonna like be there. And it always will be there, you know. But I better sooner than never, you know. I didn't want to wait for, because now I'm playing catch up with all my peers, all my cousins. They all know all the songs. I don't know all the songs. I'm trying to learn all the songs. You know, they know all the songs. It's a good question. It's a very good question. I need to write down because that's a good one. That is a good one. Saguli. Hey, what's up, bro? That was so awesome. I got to meet you this weekend or see you. I know you. Not meet you, but meet your mom. I know. Truly a life-changing experience for me. I don't think we'll ever be healed in on our paths, you know, but I definitely feel seen, loved, and heard, and it is just truly a life-changing experience for me. Honestly, from probably I feel like it affected me the most out of everybody. That's how much it impacted me. And you know what? My daughter's grandma got a blanket too, and her aunt got a blanket. My baby mama's mom and her sister got a blanket. Yeah, yo. Honestly, I that's probably like that's I want makes me want to be humble, yo. I don't want to go argue with people now. I don't want to make myself look like that no more. That's what bums do. Bums fight, yo. I've been fighting my whole life. I'm getting too old for that. I'm about to be 30, yo. I don't got nothing to prove to nobody no more. You know? It makes me want to settle down now. Definitely. I felt not I felt ignored, yo. Even sometimes by my own people. And that was just definitely the best fucking thing for me, to be honest. That helped me so much. And it was so random. Had no idea. I would have dressed up for it. I would have wore a ribbon shirt and all that. I had no idea. I didn't even go. I mean, somebody had to come pick me up because I went about my business that day. I thought they were just going to play my video the first day because they had me go out there, right? And they had, right? The first day. And then I thought that was it. And then I didn't go. Then they told me it was like, oh, there was a ceremony today. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I didn't wake up till noon the next day. So it was very random, and honestly, I had no idea. I thought they were just playing the video. Thank you. Appreciate that. Many Yahwehs. Yeah, it was. You know what you know what we did yesterday? We watched Samantha Dox Tater's presentation again. I don't know. It sounded like it was the same exact speech, yo. That was my favorite. Honestly, I wish I stayed the third day though, but I just had no ride, and yeah, that was my favorite one. We watched it again. We watched it again, yeah. It's on YouTube actually. We watched it yesterday, and and then the stuff that she didn't talk about, I filled them in on it. Yeah, I got you. I got you. I'll send it on Discord. Yeah, she was. Dude, it seemed like everybody's mom was there. My aunt, I seen a lot of people. My dad's mom my other grandma, I got to see her, my auntie this weekend. I got to see my other auntie this weekend, my cousins. Yeah, it was a huge family reunion. That's what I loved about it, because it was with our people too. That meant so much more, because like even like Senecas, like as Senecas, because they say we're not part of the Confederacy, you know. So it was really awesome to have that, like everybody there from all 17 reservations. Over 600 people signed up for it, and it was from all 6 nations. So yeah, right. It was amazing, Here, I got you right here. I just sent it to you, so you should have it right now. It's almost the same presentation, actually. Yo, I already got some dude hating too. That video. So on the YouTube right here, I got it right here. The video. And dude sat here, screen recorded it, and posted it on TikTok. So I only have it on YouTube. I'm not posting it on TikTok, just so it doesn't need to be all over the place. Just needs to be on there. On YouTube's just fine. But this kid screen recorded it and posted it on TikTok, and then he's got like pictures of his dad. This is like just so dumb. Just hating. But did you get the link? Did you get the link that I sent you? It's pretty good. It's like an hour-long presentation, and then it's like real easy to, like, I already knew what she was going to talk about. It sounds like the same presentation. It almost sounds like word for word. So it's really sweet. They gave us these colonial books too. But it's in Mohawk. So now I got a little assignment for myself to go type up one in Seneca and print it out and staple a Seneca one together. Maybe even make a hardcover one. Okay, cool. No. We the most hated? Sorry, I forgot about you guys on YouTube. Forgot about you guys over there. Yo, when we were looking at these alphabets earlier, though, it definitely matches Blackfoot and Cree on that stone. Let's see. They find cuneiform here. But I want to find that stone that guy had, yo. Let me type in. You know what he had it as, though? They call it Mormon evidence. Stones. Like, they use our stones and our artifacts as their evidence for their people. Like, here's a stone from, like, Illinois. And it's got a beard. But look at the eyes. That's definitely not them. You know? And then the beard he's got is like a Fu Manchu anyway. So, yeah, you got natives that grow fucking Fu Manchu beard. I wish I brought them up I mean, for your daughter. I had a feeling, but no idea. I'd see. Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I had no idea it was gonna be all like that. That was so random for me, too, to be honest. No idea. That's why it like means so much to me too. It was honestly a huge surprise. Yo, this is what they're finding on giants, yo, buried tablets like that. Or those are what the golden tablets look like. But they're finding on giants, they had a chest plate like that, yo. And it had writing inscribed in it. And then they even got a guy named Onondagas, yo. And he wears a feather, one up, one down. And he's supposed to be a prophet from like the year fucking 500 or whatever. I don't know. His name's Onondagas, though. Watch this. There he is. That's Onondagas right there. Look at this guy, yo. Hebrew Onondagas. Isn't that funny, y'all? No, but for real though, this is funny though. They're trying to say that that's a Hebrew Onondaga man. And this is like from the 1800s, yo. And I can't believe our people don't know or talk about this stuff, yo. It's so funny, yo. Yeah, his name is Onondagas, and he's from upstate New York, and he's a prophet. Yeah, yo. It's so funny. Yeah, they say it's all around here. Happened in our area. Yep. Some weird ass Mormon stories that happened over here in New York, they say. It's weird because they got maps too. Some weird ass maps on here, yo. But anyway, yeah, it's just some weird ass stuff. Interesting though. Definitely interesting. And then earlier we're trying to look at match these up. The Haudenosaunee hieroglyphics. Praise Yahweh. Can you even read this? You're getting into Hebrew Israelite territory? I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. And I'm not a Mormon either. I'm Seneca. I'm Onondaga. That's what I am. Haudenosaunee, bro. We got many names. Ongwehue, the original people. Yeah, this is a Iroquois fort. Look at that, yo. Come on. Our longhouses have to face a certain way, yo. Our buildings, yo. The doorways. Like the Freemasons. Or the Freemasons are like us. Because some of the first Native American Freemasons were Iroquois. So they definitely taught them stuff. Joseph Brant, Ely, Parker, first 33rd degree Masons. You got tons of Houdinish or Ungwehue Shriners too. Meet at the Moose or the Legion. It's where they wear the red fez and the Islam letters on it. And they got the swords, the big old swords. But yeah, they learned from us. These were built on top of star forts too. Look, this is first contact. Oh. Go back. What do the Hoteps do? I'm not saying you are Hebrew, bro. I'm just a regular ass native that likes to look at this shit. That's all, yo. No, but nothing special about me. My life's an open book. Just a regular chill native. I don't claim to be a know-it-all. I don't know shit, you know. I'm learning just like everybody else, you know. So I just like to look at all this stuff. I want to be more humble. I'm trying to work on that because that's one of my flaws. And I don't. It's makes me an ugly person, and I don't like that. So, and I'm not really like that, yo. It's TikTok. TikTok has made me like that, to be honest. It's unhealthy. It's TikTok has made me very toxic, and I'm not really truly like that. So, I'm trying to work on that, and not trying to be so toxic, because that can be very toxic, yo. Very toxic at times, yo. And I need to work on that. That's my biggest flaw, to be honest, and I can admit that, yo. That's what's wrong. I'm not humble. So I need to work on that. And I'm trying my hardest every day. So I appreciate it. If you're one of my haters and you want to say something to me, just know that I'm probably going to fucking hurt your feelings and it's going to make me look bad. And I'm not trying to do that, yo. Just don't fuck with me. You know? Because I'm trying to work on that. I just don't take shit from nobody, you know? And people just do it on purpose, and I need to just realize that they're just doing it to get a rise out of me. You know? And it's kind of stupid, to be honest. The whole thing is. So I'm not trying to do that no more. Yeah, it's just time to grow up too. I'm gonna be 30 this year. I can't be telling people to fucking pull up and fucking fight, yo. I've done that all the way up until now. I can't be doing it no more. I'm about to be 30, yo. My daughter's 9 years old, yo. Can't be doing shit like that, yo. This picture cracks me up, yo. It's very entertaining to watch you scalp pretendians. I know. I know it is. I like to scalp pretendians too. And we can't even call them pretendians no more. They like that because it has the word Indian in it. They think that they're beefing with real life Indians somehow puts them in the same bracket of like being tribal and like in the indigenous bracket. You know what I mean? So we can't even call them pretendians. Just call them wabos. I say Hanjit, so they're just leave them alone. You know, I don't go to their lives. They can come to my live if they want. They can ask me questions. I don't care. Just don't threaten me. You know. The clout and energy. Yeah, I got the energy, yo. That's the thing. I got a lot of energy to give. I got a lot of time, a lot of energy lately. When when you change your life drastically from being like a criminal, just straight up criminal. That was probably like my profession, was just being a criminal. And when you go from being a criminal to being a civilian, just trying to, or what I do now, basically just a streamer. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of time on your hands. You're gonna have a lot of energy. You're pretty much swapping one addiction for another, and that's pretty much what I did. A couple of addictions for one big addiction. And this is what I like to do. I like to stream. I like to learn, and I like to share everything that I know with you guys. And we'll be doing this every single day till it does something for us. What this weekend they said, nurture your gift. So the community needs to nurture the person who has the gift of whatever it is. So that person's gift they perfect that gift, right? And that gift nurtures the community. Right? That's what I'm saying, you know. That fucking really like hit home for me too, what they said this weekend when they said that. So let me say it again. The community needs to nurture the young one, anybody that's young that has a gift, right? So that they get good at that gift, right? They perfect it and they grow up, and their gift nurtures the community. You know how they say it takes a community to raise a village to raise a kid, raise a child. And you know what? Everybody there today that got a blanket too, like they all have their own story too. I'm not unique, you know. That's why I'm the perfect person for that. I'm not perfect either, but I'm a good person to choose for that because my story is not unique. I'm relatable, and everybody, you know, I wasn't the only one. There's 10 people that they gave a blanket to. So they all have their own story, you know, and everybody else can relate to them in a different way too, because they didn't just play my video. They played a bunch of other people's videos, yo. Yo, and then I was talking to Cheryl from Seneca Strong, and she said Shayna told her that she's seen it on Tubi or something already. And I messaged her, but she said she didn't know what she was talking about. So I don't fucking know. I was told it was going to be on Tubi, and now it's not. I don't know. So I don't know what's going on with that. But not mine, but just other people's. Yeah, no, thank you. You guys already gave me thanks and all that, yo. I know I can go on and on, but what we're looking at right here. You guys already thanked me. You guys don't have to thank me. I appreciate all the love and support, though. Oh, yo, we gotta link up the Mormons and the Hebrew Israelites.
So y'all know that I talk about the Garden of Eden being in North America. I've talked about the Garden of Eden being in
the energy. Still, though, it was an awesome experience. The energy is still high. It's very, yes, yo, very good energy lately. Yo, I wake up with mad energy. I wake up with mad energy. That's like a good sign. Like, it's just when your first 30 seconds or 30 minutes of your day when you open your eyes is what sets the mood for your day. So if you wake up and you're in a bitchy mood and you're fucking yelling and arguing, you're going to be in a bad mood all day. But if you wake up in the morning, you listen to some motivational speeches, you're going to feel motivation all day. So that's what sets the tune for you tune your guitar before you play it, right? So basically, it's that res coffee. That's a strange combo. Mormons and Hebrews, they believe the same thing. I don't know why they haven't linked up, yo. Maybe I'll be the one to do that. The Mormons and the Hebrews need to definitely link up because they're believing the same fucking thing, that there's ancient Hebrews that came to America. How do you fight without martial arts? Let me know. I wrestled, bro, my entire life. So, martial arts, they can't protect you from someone just tackling you to the ground and pounding your face in. I'm sorry. That takes a lot of force. And if you don't know how to defend that, it's just going to happen to you regardless if you fight a wrestler, no matter what. Because that's how wrestlers fight. They just will pick you up, slam you, and keep doing that to you if they want to. If you let them. But if you don't know how to defend against that, yeah, wrestler will win every single time. The power of his braids. Yeah, I just swing my braids like a helicopter. And it fucking slaps them and chokes them out and snaps their neck. Because the braid is so tight. Oh, great.
I built a Wix website overnight, and it helped launch my career.
Hebrews were in ancient America solid evidence.
Ever since European colonists began settling in the land that would later become the United States of America, many artifacts have been discovered which
I heard this was a fake ass artifact, yo. I heard this was a fake ass artifact right here. That this isn't real. That they carved that. And see that the box behind it that it came in? It even came in a little box, and they said they found that in a mound. And it's got the 10 Commandments written in block Hebrew. And this was in Ohio, Seneca territory. Seneca Shawnee territory.
Suggest that one of the ancient native...
That's not our symbols, yo. I'm telling you, those are not our symbols. These are our symbols. And we got many more, too. I just haven't had pictures of that I can show them to you yet.
Of American mound builder civilizations, which the U.S. calls Hopewell, are descendants of Hebrew people who migrated to ancient North America during the 500s BC, which is approximately the
earliest there it is. Okay, the Los Luna stone. Here we go. Finally, somebody fucking writes this shit down. We'll do a special on this, okay? Because this looks like Blackfoot and Cree. I noticed it right off the rip, and we were already comparing it earlier, and it lines up perfectly, actually. They're saying it's ancient Hebrew. You know what Hebrew looks like? Look up the pi symbol. The pi symbol, that's ancient Hebrew, yo. Let it go? No, they're trying to say this is Hebrew. We're not fucking Hebrews. I'm trying to say that looks like Blackfoot and Cree.
Dates of the Hopewell Mound Builders in Florida, Tennessee, and Iowa. Yet there have been many people in the United States who insist that every single one of these artifacts are fake. My personal opinion is because it opposes the idea that nobody sailed to America before Christopher Columbus. But there's at least one extremely large piece of evidence carved right into the landscape near Fayetteville, Ohio, that can't be denied as solid evidence of Hebrew people in ancient North America. And you can see it right on Google Earth. But
I see Turtle Island. Do you guys see Turtle Island? That's what I see. I see a giant ass turtle with its head frozen. Part of its head frozen.
Before we get into that, just a brief introduction. The Hopewell Mound Builders built hundreds of thousands of structures out of various types of...
Now look at all the ones in western New York, in Cattaraugus County.
Earth materials. These structures included burial mounds, animal effigy mounds, forts, temples, and advanced geometric structures with lunar and solar...
Nazca lines, those are lines. See the circle with the box in the top left-hand corner? Those, they're saying that, so these are Adena geoglyphs. They're saying that these line up with Nazca lines down in Peru. So that also proves that we did migrate from South America and not from Asia, because we got our corn from down there and our creation stories match the Mayans. So the Nazca lines are being seen in Ohio now, Seneca Shawnee land.
Alignments. Many of these structures have been leveled down and destroyed as the United States expanded west and built itself right over them, but some still exist today. Early U.S. settlers would create detailed survey drawings of some of these structures. There are a few good books which were published by the Smithsonian in the mid-1800s that show detailed survey drawings from the Ohio and New York areas. They're called Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley,
Aboriginal Monuments of New York. That's a good one. Grab a picture of that real quick. Come on, y'all.
Monuments of New York and Antiquities of New York. But there was a one-of-a-kind mound builder structure that was unlike all the rest, at least as far as I know. In 1823, Major Isaac Roberdeau of the United States Army Corps of Engineers created this survey drawing of a massive earth structure just southwest of present-day Fayetteville.
That's fucking Hindu.
Ohio. Notice the Hebrew oil lamp. Notice the 9-candle menorah. And notice other ancient and sacred symbols such as the compass and the square. Another drawing of this structure is included in one of the Smithsonian books I mentioned earlier.
Look at that. No, that's not Hindu. I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Upside down, it looks like a comb. Upside down, it looks like a fucking, yeah, yo, that's pretty interesting.
Ancient monuments of the Mississippi Valley. And still, there are some who insist that this survey drawing was fake and that the structure never even existed. Unfortunately, the United States Army Corps of Engineers completely destroyed this structure in the early 1900s and leveled it into flat ground.
Yeah, okay, now LiDAR should still be able to pick it up like underneath the ground or something if they dug anything. At least there shouldn't. See, Biden did this too. Biden did this to build new homes in like Connecticut or something, or Rhode Island. There was like old mounds that were in the shape of Egyptian hieroglyphics, actually, like this, but actual Egyptian hieroglyphics, and he had them bulldozed, actually flattened. So,
but why?
It does look like Hanukkah.
Was it an intentional attempt to erase this?
This is also proving that people came down from South America, because the Nazca lines also have this, the menorah or Hanukkah candles.
Odd Hebrew structure from American history, or was it simply out of carelessness and lack of respect for ancient American antiquities? I don't know, but here's the good news. They missed a spot, and you can see it right on Google Earth. Here's a satellite image of the area where the structure was said to have been located. It's just southwest of Fayetteville, Ohio, where the 131 and the 50 intersect, and it's all just farmlands and trees. Do you see the spot they missed? There it is, right there. The Hebrew letter Shin, or Sin. And it's okay if you didn't see it. I didn't see it either until someone pointed it out to me a few months ago. Now some of you may be saying, wait, but that's not on the survey drawing. And you're right. So I wonder if that's why they missed it. In 1823, that whole area was probably covered with thick forest, and who knows for how long after that. Perhaps still in the early 1900s when they leveled it down.
You can see it.
So what we're looking at here are massive ditches that include the Hebrew letter Shin, or Sin. I'll leave it to you to research the significance of this letter, but it's a very sacred letter in the Hebrew alphabet. I snapped this screenshot on Google Earth in the fall of 2015, and yes, I didn't even notice the letter in over the year's time that I had it. But as you can see, the letter shows up very nicely because the crop fields surrounding it have been harvested. The reason why the letter and the other lines are still green is because of the plant growth down in the massive ditches. But even if you look at it on Google Earth at a time when the fields are green with crops, you can still see the letter. So go check it out. And if you're ever out that way, hey, maybe the landowner will even let you walk around it. It's worth a try, right? I wish I would have known about that letter when I was out there. I would have asked too. So why the ditches? Well, when the mound builders built their structures, they had to get the earth materials from somewhere, right? So they dug ditches. When you look at the survey drawings of other mound builder structures, oftentimes you'll see that they dug ditches and built the walls of earth right alongside the ditches. Now, I can't tell from the 1823 survey if there were ditches alongside its walls or not, but if there weren't any, then it's likely that the dirt came from those ditches that include the Hebrew letter. But either way, that letter is there, and it's huge. Now, I would love to see if a LiDAR image of this area can still detect any traces of the structure from the 1823 survey. So, if any of you watching this video have any connections to LiDAR imaging technology, please go do this site. That would be awesome to see if it picks anything up. Anyway, so there you have it. 5 ancient sacred Hebrew symbols right there at a Hopewell Mound Builder site in Ohio, with one of the symbols still there, carved into the landscape, staring us all in the face and telling us, yes, Hebrew people were here in ancient North America. In closing, among the many Hebrew-related artifacts here in the U.S., there was one that was dug out of a hill in 1826 near Palmyra, New York. It was an ancient record engraved on thin metal plates, which the mound builders also knew how to make. This record tells about a small group of Hebrew people who left Jerusalem in...
Are these supposed to be the actual plates? Because those look fake as fuck, to be honest. It looked fake as fuck.
In 600 BC, shortly before the Babylonians destroyed the city. This small group of Hebrews sailed to ancient America. Their record was printed into the English language in 1830, and it's called the Book of Mormon. Mormon is the name of one of the last guys who wrote in the record in 385 AD after his people were slaughtered in a great war that lasted decades and culminated in what is now the state of New York. Mormon's son, Moroni, was the last guy who wrote in the record in 421 AD. The archaeologic record of the Hopewell Mound Builders strongly suggests that their civilization did end in New York around 400 AD. And there are Native Americans who will tell you that the Mound Builder civilization was mostly killed off in New York, but that some of them escaped southward to Kentucky, where they were finally destroyed. And the Book of Mormon also mentions this, that after the last great battle in New York, there were a few who escaped to the south, but were finally killed as well. So this ancient metal record that the Book of Mormon came from was originally written in a reformed Egyptian language.
Now that, look at that. That looks like Cherokee. That looks like an Iroquoian alphabet. It looks like Micmac too, also with some tree. Swear to God, see the dots? It's got some of our symbols in it too. Actually, it's got two of our symbols in it. It's got the two lines, the cross, the ladder thing. Yeah, lots of our symbols, and this is Reformed Egyptian. The closest one to Egyptian is the Mayans, though. They have literal hieroglyphics just like the Egyptians. And then we're gonna do a whole class on why some of the Mayan pictures look Japanese. It looks like they're drawn by Japanese drawings because some of the Mayan drawings match samurai drawings. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I notice patterns, and I'm an artist myself. And there's Mayan drawings that match samurai, and yes, Arab. Yeah, actually, the oldest depictions of the Quran are done by in samurai style or Mayan style. Who knows? What if that's the original style, and they're from us, and they got our style? You know, so that's what I'm saying. We're gonna do a deep dive into that.
Some of the characters on the record are similar to some of the characters in the written language of the...
Hold on, let's go back. We got the symbols right here. Okay. Let's match the symbols up. The fuck is this one? With the, it's like a 3 with 2 lines in the middle. No, I don't see any. Not so far. It matches more the Cree or the Blackfoot. Just the T. The T is the only one that matches. Or the arrow thing. Or the 2 lines. The ladder is not a complete ladder either. But no, not really anything. Let me see.
record are similar to some of the characters in the written language of the Algonquin Micmac Native.
See? I told you. And allegedly he learned it from fucking Seneca elders too. That's what I'm saying, y'all. But for those are not gonna match anything because those are actual names. The ones that I showed you, they're not gonna match anything in that because those are our Confederacy titles right there. I was just wanting to see if they matched. I'm not surprised any of them don't match. But Micmac Indian hieroglyphics match the tablets that were found in New York.
Of Americans, whose written language is also a form of Egyptian called Hieratic Egyptian. And they had this language before the European settlers arrived. So how did the Micmacs have Hieratic Egyptian as their language? My opinion is that the language was handed down through the generations from the ancient Hebrews who came to North America 2,600 years ago, who knew how to speak, read, and write both the Hebrew and Egyptian languages. The Book of Mormon tells about this ancient Hebrew people and how some of them also believed in Jesus Christ as the Son of God. Well, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did...
That was a good one. What do you guys think? It's getting late, guys. Do you need this video? This is what we do every day. We learn, we investigate. We try to learn the truth. We're looking for evidence. Wait, what?
It takes courage to navigate the unknown.
We'll do a fun one now, okay?
Detect and prevent threats.
5,000 years ago, a Sumerian city received a delivery. And the moment that delivery arrived, the city developed writing and law and music and the capacity for legitimate government to function. Not because anyone taught them, not because they figured it out themselves, because something arrived by boat.
That's a fucking Mayan pyramid on that. Do you see the Mayan step pyramid in front of that thing? That's a Mayan step pyramid in front of the sun. And it's mad sun worship. Blood sun. Blood sacrifice.
Because something arrived by boat. We have a word for a system that stores all human knowledge and capabilities in one place, and when you connect to it, you can access things you could not access before. When you lose the connection, those things stop working. We invented that in 1983. We called it the Internet. The Sumerians invented it 5,000 years earlier. They called it the ME. They described it as a list of over 100 items, physical objects that could be stored, stolen, and transported. And they believed that whichever city possessed them could function as a civilization. Whichever city lost them could not. The woman who delivered the cargo got the god who owned them drunk at dinner, took everything while he was not paying attention, and sailed away before he sobered up. He sent 7 separate forces to stop her. She defeated all 7 using the very things she had already taken. The list of what she was carrying is sitting in Philadelphia right now. It has been there since the 1890s. It has been translated. It has been studied. And nobody has formally answered the question that occurs to any engineer or systems architect who reads it carefully. What exactly was the ME, not what it symbolized, what it actually was? Because the text does not describe a metaphor, it describes a transfer. A specific operational system moved from one location to another that made civilization possible wherever it landed. I spent a long time reading this list. I want to show you what is on it. Because the answer I keep coming back to is the one nobody wants to say out loud. They are pronounced May. And for 5,000 years, scholars have been arguing about what they actually were. I want to start with the physical description, because it is the strangest part of this, and the part that the standard academic treatment tends to move past very quickly. That me are described in the Sumerian texts as objects. Physical objects, objects that can be held in the hand, stored in a specific location, loaded onto a boat,
and transported from one city to another. They are kept in a specific place, the Abzu, the underground realm of the god Enki, at the city of Eridu. They are stored there the way a library stores books or a server stores files. And here is where it gets specific in a way I find very difficult to categorize comfortably. Most of the ME on the list are not physical objects by any modern definition. Truth, falsehood, heroism, the making of decisions, descent into the underworld, the destruction of cities. These are not things you can put in a box. These are processes, systems, the capacity to do something, the ability to operate within a specific domain of human activity. And yet the text described the ME as being stored in the Abeziyu, handed from one being to another, loaded onto a boat, and used as tools by whoever possessed them. The academic response has been to call the ME symbolic, divine decrees,
what's that?
Cosmic laws, the abstract principles that govern civilized life, personified in the way ancient cultures personify abstract concepts. But that does not explain what the texts actually describe happening with the ME. What the texts describe is not metaphor. It is mechanics. Let me tell you the story the tablets record because it changes the way you read the list. In the myth of Inanna and Enki, inscribed on tablets dating to approximately 2000 BCE and found at Nippur across multiple excavations, the goddess Inanna travels to Eridu. She goes to Enki's underground realm, to where the Mi are stored. She arrives. Enki greets her. They feast and they drink. As the drinking continues, Enki becomes generous. He begins handing her the Mi one by one, naming each one as he gives it. Over the course of the feast, he gives her all of them, more than 100 Mi, transferred from his possession to hers. She loads them onto her boat, the boat of heaven, and departs for Uruk. Taken at face value, it is a story about a goddess getting a god drunk and walking off with the contents of his library. The second part is more interesting. Enki sobers up, and when the effects of the beer cleared from him, he looks around the Abzu and realizes the ME are gone. He calls his minister. His minister confirms that yes, he gave them all to Inanna while drinking. Enki is not pleased. He sends forces after her. The text records 7 separate attempts to recover the ME. Each time, Inanna uses what she already possesses to defeat whatever Enki sends. She uses the power she has already received to protect the power she has already received. 7 times. 7 times she wins. She arrives at Uruk. And the text describes what happens when the ME arrive. Joy in the city, life in the city, kingship established, scribal arts established, music established, law established. The city comes online. I want to stay with that phrase because it is not one I am using loosely. The text does not say the people of Uruk learned these skills. It does not say Inanna taught them. It says the ME arrived and those things became operational. The relationship is direct and causal. You have the ME, the function works. You lose the ME, the function stops. This is a description of an external system that cities could possess or lose, and whose presence or absence determined what those cities could do. And now I want to return to the list, because when you read it with this framing, it reads differently. Kingship is on the list. Not a king, not instructions for selecting a king. The capacity for kingship to function. The ability of a human being to exercise legitimate authority over others in a way that is recognized and sustained.
An IQ of 85 to 115 is considered average in the U.S.
Whatever makes that possible is called the ME of kingship, and it can be possessed, transferred, and lost. The craft of the scribe is on the list. Not a scribe, not writing materials. The capacity for scribal arts to function. Whatever allows a civilization to produce and transmit written records. That is a ME. And the destruction of cities is on the list. lamentation is on the list. Falsehood is on the list. The me are not a list of good things. They are a list of all things. The Sumerians considered even negative functions, the ability to destroy, to deceive, to grieve, as capacities that required a me to operate. Something external to the human being that, when present, made those functions possible. The academic philologist Gertrude Farber, in the most important scholarly study of the ME, summarized the concept this way. All spheres of civilization and culture, institutions of state, institutions of religion, spiritual values, emotional values, social conditions, professions, and tools are permeated by the divine powers, which are designed and executed by the gods. All spheres, permeated, not symbolized by, permeated by. Here is my problem with the purely metaphorical reading. The Sumerians were not a civilization that confused metaphor with mechanics. They invented the written record. Their administrative tablets describe grain deliveries with the precision of modern logistics. Their mathematical tablets contain the square root of 2 calculated to 6 decimal places. These are people who distinguish between what something is and what something represents. When a Sumerian scribe wrote that a shipment of barley arrived at a specific temple on a specific date, he was not writing metaphor. He was recording a transaction. When the same civilization wrote that Inanna loaded the me onto a boat, that Enki sent 7 waves of forces to recover them, and that when they arrived, the city of Uruk began to function differently, that text uses the same vocabulary and the same transactional grammar as the barley tablet. The Abzu is not a metaphorical location. Archaeologists have identified the physical site as Tel Abu Shahrain in southern Iraq, where the oldest temple layers in the world have been excavated going back to 5,400 BCE. The me are stored somewhere real. They are transported on a real boat. Their arrival in a real city produces real changes. The text is describing something operational.
Did you see that? That old ziggurat was turning into like a mountain. That's after 5,000 years. Now imagine what the Grand Canyon and all the mountains over here are. Right? That's what I'm saying, yo. It's not making sense. It's not making any sense. Yeah, well, it's getting pretty late, guys. It's 11:11. Make a wish. We're going to call it a night. And on a good note, it was a good day. We were live all day yesterday and all day today. We're trying to get as many hours as we can in now. But yeah, yo. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Well, I think we get unbanned on Facebook tomorrow night, or maybe the next day. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. But until then, eskungia. Until we meet again, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. All right. Many nyawes for all the love, all the support. Thanks for all the gifts, guys. Sorry that I don't say anything because I can't see them sometimes, guys. I can't see them at all when I'm live on here. So thanks to all the gifters, guys. Many nyawes, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Peace. I will. Hold on, let me check right now. You want me to check right now? Alright, well, everybody have a good rest of your night. I'll catch y'all later.